Yo, it's all good, dude. Yeah, no worries, no worries. I think it's good. I liked it. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel you. I feel you. I liked it though. Hmm. I thought that was cool. I like it when it zooms in and stuff like that. Mm. I think it's because you have to. Yeah, I think it's because you have to like when you're editing it, you have to render it out. That's why it looks so pixelated. But sometimes even then, it's just glitched out and it doesn't work.
I just realized I
Hmm.
was muted. I was fucking muted.
Yeah, you were muted.
yeah, on the Twitch stream, I just saw that. I'm like, oh my god. I get good, man. Just get good at this shit.
Yeah,
But it's
no
it's
worries,
cool. I
dude.
love making mistakes, man. Making mistakes is the best way of learning, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
definitely.
So I like fucking up. All right. So tell us more about yourself. How you get started. What got you into art in general? Like, what got you like trying to conquer the world and improve?
So, I guess to start, um, what got me into art actually was doing artwork for other people, which is probably like the worst way to start.
Yeah.
I actually started drawing because I had shown somebody a drawing that I made and they really liked it, and I wanted to keep kind of getting that satisfaction from that. So I kept
I
making
see.
drawings and showing them, and it felt good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then the more I did it, obviously, the better I got. But then this was like in high school area. And then I graduated and then I went to college and I didn't know what really I wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to pursue something more creative because I feel like that's usually where I flourish. And so, yeah, so I started pursuing art there a little bit more seriously, even though I was taking majoring in communications, which is very, I feel it's a pretty easy transition
Yeah.
because you in communications you just kind of learn to talk to people
Yeah.
and
That's a really good skill, to be
you know
honest, though.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's really not bad at all. I've used the skill like a lot within my lifetime. um, so yeah, so I started pursuing it a little bit more there, and then I actually stopped attending college at that point because I didn't feel that it was helping me
Yeah.
in the way that I needed it to. And so I started doing it on my own by just going to cafes every single day and just drawing.
Yeah.
Which in my earlier videos you can definitely like tell that that's what I was doing, and I still like to
Hmm.
do that every once in a while. But COVID rulings and all of that, we just aren't able
Yeah.
to go around and do that just yet.
Hmm.
Um, so that was how I kind of got into it, and then the goal changed along the way, and now I just kind of want to make artwork that makes people um, or that I like that communicates something that I've experienced, so that people can see that and create an experience with somebody else. That's why
Hmm.
I'm so kind of enthralled with card games and things like that, like board games,
Hmm.
because I've had a lot of good memories with the family and friends um, through those games. And the artworks, although sometimes maybe they weren't like, AAA, they stuck with me and they resonated a lot with me because of those experiences. And that's what I want to kind of give to somebody else.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's really cool. How did you
So
feel
yeah,
like
that's how I.
going back to the communications, like how do you feel like communications helped you further along in when it comes to art? Do you feel like it helped you in some type of way of like just being more connected?
Um, so I didn't necessarily tie communications to artwork. At the beginning, I was trying to start my YouTube channel and get it rolling, but
Mm-hmm.
I realized very quickly that YouTube just wasn't for me. But it was also because I was looking at it through a different lens of like, I want to be a personality and all of this, and that's just not who I am. So,
Yeah.
um, it did help in the way of like formatting like a video, right?
Yeah.
Like I would make it sort of like a presentation, but I would do it very impromptu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so in that way it was helpful, but it was also like it hurt me at points because I didn't come off as authentic. It
Yeah.
was very like,
Yeah.
you know, superficial, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not even that people don't like that, but I don't like that. I wouldn't want to come off that way to somebody. So yeah, so it was good and bad, you know? It was good because I was able to make a lot of videos, but it was also bad because they didn't seem like good videos. They were very
Yeah.
robotic and
Yeah. I think there's a comfortability factor. I always mention it all the fucking time when it's like, this is weird. I'm talking to a camera. This is the weirdest thing I've ever done in my life. And I'm trying
yeah,
to get
definitely.
comfortable talking to like literally nobody.
Hmm.
And then when your views
Well,
reflect
one,
that as well, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely talking to the ether. I'm just yelling shit out.
yeah, no, definitely. Like I've recently experienced that on Twitch, but what helped me like with that, I think, is you imagine like people that you know behind the camera,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Like
then
you're
that
talking
makes it
to
a
a
lot
friend.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, like in like I told you before the stream, I haven't announced it quite yet. About like streaming with a friend and like streaming League of Legends. I
Yeah.
know I've played a little bit with them, so for those of you that have tuned in, thank you for watching.
Mhm.
But that's why it's easier to stream with somebody opposed to just by yourself,
Yeah, yeah,
because
exactly.
you're talking to them. You're not talking to chat.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with talking to
Yeah.
chat. It's just
It's
chat's not a person, right? They're
yeah.
not. Yeah, so it's a little bit more difficult, but
It's either that
I
are
enjoy
they
talking to
there?
chat.
Are they not there? Like, are you guys
Yeah,
even
no,
listening to
definitely.
me? Like, you'd be
Hmm.
surprised too, because
Yeah.
like I'm a ninja watcher. You know, the people who just lurk and don't really say shit, but I just like to watch you work or whatever, and I might be listening, or I might not. So the thing is, like,
Hmm.
it'd be crazy when someone catches me slipping, like thinking out like I said something and like that's probably gonna go by people's heads, and then later on I see a freaking someone made a clip of whatever I just said. I'm like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah, dude, it's really funny. So a lot of the times I don't make any sense out of what I'm saying. Like
Mhm.
it's hard to do artwork and talk.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard to do to multitask in general.
Yeah.
I know like kind of we end up being forced to because you're an artist and you're
Uh huh.
streaming and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I
You also
don't
want to be
believe
entertained
that
at some
naturally we're
point.
supposed to like multitask in that way because it
Oh no.
divides your focus.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only focus on so many things at once, and like especially when you're doing artwork, you're trying to like be so multifaceted already, and
Right. You're
it's
solving
just talking on
problems
top of that.
constantly,
Yeah,
yeah, and then you trying to talk and
yeah,
have a conversation. Like that shit's hard. And I
yeah,
commend like a lot of
yeah,
artists. Like there's some entertaining artists to watch. Like they're like really focusing on the work, but they're also holding up a conversation, talking about what's on their mind and stuff. I'm like, I don't know how the hell you do that without
yeah,
pausing, because I pause a lot.
yeah. Like it's so like there's two different types of drawing for me, where it's like one, you're drawing to make good things, and then there's drawing casually when you're talking and chatting with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually do the latter when I'm talking with friends. I don't really draw things that are like, you know, like amazing or anything. Just because like it's harder to focus, and you don't have that weight of like, oh, this has to be good on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, you're just drawing with your friends. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I enjoy doing both though.
Mm-hmm. Same. Um, going back to you putting yourself out there on the internet like that and like trying to start YouTube and you're talking about like being a personality. Yo, being a personality is exhausting. It's
Yeah, it is. It
exhausting.
definitely is. I found that out within the time span. Honestly, though, the thing about being a personality is
Hmm.
it's usually just an exaggerated version of whatever the person is like already.
Yeah.
Um, and for my specific case, it was almost the exact opposite of how I was. Um, like I myself, like I can talk to people, and I have like thunder throat where I'm like super loud.
Hmm.
Um, but like I I was always kind of quieter, if that makes sense. Like I used to not really talk a lot,
Yeah.
unless like somebody asked me something or I was talking with somebody. And fast forwarding to now, right? I'm still very much similar to that, but I'm willing to chat more.
Yeah.
And like get out of like that, like, all right, I'm just not gonna say anything.
Hmm.
But that's also probably like a mental space thing. Um, but I feel like it's difficult to uphold a personality that isn't the true authentic you. Like
Yeah.
if it's easier for me to hold up that type of personality if I'm like talking about card games or
Hmm.
like
Something
like
that you're that
things that
interested
I'm
in.
interested in.
Yeah, and that's when
Yeah,
your
because
true
like
personality comes out to shine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because then that's actually you, and you're just expressing whatever you're interested in, and you're being like exaggerated and over the top. Well, right
Yeah.
now I'm just kind of like pretty low energy,
Hmm.
mainly like because I just woke up a little while ago, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, it's not a insane amount of energy, but yeah, definitely you
Hmm.
do get very tired about like using a personality on YouTube.
Yeah. You can see that like you I know your opinions on Ethan Becker, but have you watched his latest video when he talks about like this persona that I'm playing is very sarcastic and everything's supposed to be meant as a joke, but then people are taking me really too seriously on my like persona that I just made up. And
Yeah,
now I'm gonna change that because like I'm I seen like people are very like angry and they're not really getting the message or getting the point of my videos. I don't know if I should be a little bit more straightforward or should I be a little bit more seriously, but I am now hanging up this persona of Ethan Becker and I'm just gonna freaking be me.
yeah. I think that that's always like the better choice of being yourself because you can always be misinterpreted.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a good decision in general.
Because like it just gets to a point where like I mob for his Discord and I never thought I'd be I like for me I didn't know that being a mod is like a big deal. I was just there like consistently every day because I got shit else to do. So I like talking to random ass artists because like honestly I don't really talk to a lot of people about art. Like I feel like a lot of people in my close vicinity, like people I went to school with, even like art students I went to school with, I'm still friends with them. They don't really like talk about art as much or are that passionate about it or they are that
Hmm.
driven. Like I really enjoy these conversations, so I'm just there like chilling out, and then I'm meeting Ethan Becker, and he's a really toned down person. Like people expect him to be on like 24/7. I got the broken cigarette in my mouth. I got the freaking mic knife like all the time, America shade glasses, and he's just like I'm a straightforward dude. I'm not like I'm not like super hyper, you know. I
Yeah.
just think it's kind of crazy. Like just people don't seem to like separate the two identities. Like maybe this is just him as a YouTube person, and then there's him in real life. He wakes up and he
Yeah.
ties his shoe just like everyone else does, you know.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a different ball game when you're introducing talking about yourself and not being like a personality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, but
Yeah,
like
hardcore.
when yeah, I'm not hardcore like listening to his stuff, and I'm not even gonna talk about like
I fell into
a
that
lot of his
cult.
content, but
I fell into that cult
one
of like
thing that
hustle your ass off cult.
yeah, well, like the reason that I bring it up is because I remember hearing something that he had said in one of his talks, which was like, don't think of social media like, or at least of Instagram like it's a it's a showcase because it's not.
Yeah,
It's conversations and it's socializing and you're posting something and treat it like it's uh what is it, like a memory book or like a like notes rather than posting,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that'll A, get you to post more, and B, it'll get your name out more. And that's kind of like that mentality that I went through when I was starting my art.
Uh-huh.
I would do a lot of artwork, and post whatever I would make. Um, Not so much in hopes of like, oh, showing people this artwork or whatever, but because I wanted to have that kind of mileage. And because I was also following Ahmed Al-Duri,
Mm-hmm.
who kind of taught like mileage and like draw more is always good. It doesn't matter if you're following fundamentals or not. Just the fact that you're drawing more will force you to learn
Yeah.
the things you need to learn. Um, and obviously, pay attention to fundamentals and all that. But he
Mm-hmm.
stressed more drawing what you like than drawing the right way, quote unquote. Um, but yeah, that's what I have for that
Okay.
cliff note, I guess.
Yeah. So, do you have any like school experiences when it comes to art?
Um, Academic stuff for art you're talking about?
Yeah, like did you ever like take any extra like art classes or courses?
So, at the beginning of my art journey, I took one art class at a community college. I don't think it was a very good class.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of like
I'm
the
not going to say
basic
what the
stuff.
name of the college is or whatever because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But community college and art um, weren't the best.
Yeah.
The one that I was going to, at least. And then a little bit after that, after I kind of decided to go on my full, like a more of a journey, I had enrolled in a class with Ahmed Al-Duri at CGMA,
Nice.
um, and that went really well. So it was a character design class, like teaching you the fundamentals of character design. And so I took that, and I learned a lot there. And I'm always grateful for the time that Ahmed had put into making that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's that. I did take another class at Brainstorm, which is a school here in Burbank, California. Um, I took a gesture drawing class, and then I also took a fundamentals to perspective class, or a course rather.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty entertaining. Like, it was good, and I learned a lot from it. But the fundamentals that you learn from the fundamental section is used from like multifaceted different things. So like
Yeah.
you can use it for almost anything. So I quickly just kind of did it on my own, and then after that I haven't taken any courses. So I just basically just churned out just work, and I just did stuff, and I got a couple of little things here and there from things that I've worked on. And
Yeah.
um, I've just been slowly building my repertoire of work and skills actually too. It always surprises me, like when when most people think about like studying, it's like, oh, you're sitting down and you're drawing ahead and you're getting the proportions down or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and like that to me is like that's very focused studying. But the problem with that is like you're not actually applying what you're learning. You're just kind of like looking at it and putting it down on paper.
Yeah.
And so like I very rarely have ever done that. I've done that maybe 2 times, 3 times, but it was literally because like I didn't like it looked really wrong and I needed to figure out the distances
Yep.
of stuff, and then
Mm-hmm.
I just sat down and I drew the lines or whatever of the head. And then I studied the sorrow head a little bit, and that was it. Like I always just study things in the moment when I need it, opposed to like preemptively, because your brain doesn't remember all of that information. So
Yeah.
you
True. True.
study it and then you forget it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just never use it again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like, or at least that's how I understand it. Where
Yeah.
it's like you study that, and then you also study anatomy, and you study perspective, and you study like it's just too much stuff. You got to take
Yeah.
it one step at a time, and your brain. Usually, when you study it with things that you actually like,
Mm-hmm.
you're way more likely to actually remember what it
Remember
is you're
it.
thinking about.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how I've accumulated my skills, I guess, if for a better way of putting it, I guess.
I just feel like whenever someone is like, "Yeah, I want to be an artist," it's just that there's so many resources out there. You're like, I don't know where to begin. So like, you
Hmm.
just start randomly throwing darts at a board. Like, okay, so I gotta practice. I gotta do Dropbox. I gotta draw 100 boxes a day, and like. I don't know why I'm drawing it. I'm just doing it because that's what is recommended for me to do.
Yeah, the best thing that I've seen, or I personally would recommend to people that are starting off and that want to get better at drawing or at art,
Mm-hmm.
is it's actually not to draw, right? It's not to
Mm-hmm.
paint, it's not to do any of that, but figure out why you're doing it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because, and this is something that came to me a lot later on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like going back to why you do it. Um, if you want to chase doing artwork for like money or for fame or for
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing, um, the statistics show you're probably not going to do well, right? And this isn't me trying to be negative or like
Ooh, yeah.
putting people down or whatever, but it's something that I had come across and I realized, and I was like, man, I wish I knew this earlier. And it's just a fact, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I push the way I want to do artwork more than I push like um, I guess a personality or this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Opposed to before is because I want to show people the more like I want to push that joy that I experienced rather than my artwork,
Yeah.
because I think, like, personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't care what the artwork looks like. I actually care more about how it makes you feel, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, if you follow some of the stuff that I've been sharing on my art station, or sorry, not my art station, it's this YouTube series that I started called All Art No Breaks, where I go on a deep
Mm-hmm.
dive on art station and I find references and things like that of things that I'm either working on or things that I'm just browsing around, and I share them on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the stuff that I've been recently finding, and videos haven't come out yet probably, but um, is some of the artists may not be super super technical,
Uh-huh.
but some of the techniques that they use are to invoke an emotion from when you're looking at an image. And I've slowly realized that, like, the reason you work zoomed out isn't just because you're trying to get the overall picture, but because you're trying to feel out the image and, like, okay, it's a darker image and it makes me feel this way. So
Yeah.
like if I put like a little glimpse of like a brighter color,
Mm-hmm.
right, it'll make you feel a different way, right? Like, oh, like hope, like it's really dark and there's like a bright spot. It's like, oh, it's a little bit more hopeful, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I it invokes that. It's a very subconscious thing, and you have to kind of like really like sit down and just look at it and like just tell your or ask yourself, how, what does this make me feel?
Mm-hmm.
um and this is delving into like another thing entirely, but like um illustration work a lot of the times is that, right?
Yeah.
It's making you feel something. Splash art is a little bit different because splash art is like more commercial, so like it's like making the image look cool so that people buy the skin or whatever. But like it's it's also the character in their natural habitat, like or in the best, like um, in their natural environment where they flourish the most.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also what appealed to me a lot, was that kind of idea. But like I said, slowly I'm starting to transition into like that whole feeling thing,
Yeah.
because like if you think about a feeling, right, and you look at like specific artworks, can't think of any names off the top of my head, but like if you look at it and then you associate that feeling with an experience, that artwork doesn't matter what it looks like, because it ends up being really, like, it invokes like a feeling, and a feeling is probably, as an artist, it's the most powerful tool in your arsenal is, and your job as an artist is to make people feel things, right?
Mm-hmm.
um and I guess in that way I'm still kind of developing my skill set
Yeah.
to kind of tailor towards that. Um,
Would you
but
say
that's
you're trying to
definitely
like
what I
develop your
recommend.
voice?
Yeah, well, I guess my voice, um, because what I've kind of learned also is like you'll gradually learn like or develop a style. Like you don't have to like look for a style, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
Yeah. I gave up on that.
Um, yeah, like you'll develop it. So
Mm-hmm.
um, like I said, what I recommend is to really sit down and like figure out what it is you want, and then chase that, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying have like quote unquote a good reason for it, because that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But like, what I am saying is like make sure you're okay with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if tomorrow you're put out on the street, right? Are
Mm-hmm.
you okay with the decisions that you've made? Or if like
Yeah.
if somebody that you cared about were to pass away today, hopefully it doesn't happen, right?
Right. Right.
But if they did, would you be okay with decisions that you've made, right?
Yeah.
Because art is a huge investment and it's a sacrifice sometimes because you don't get to do a lot of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to go hang out with your friends as much. You don't get to do all of this stuff. And I know it's something that a lot of artists don't talk about because they
Oh
usually,
yeah, they don't.
yeah, they usually try to spiel the whole like,
Work-life balance.
um, yeah, like life balance, or like even the even funnier one is like, oh, it's a grind. Like you got to grind. You got to. It's
Yeah.
like yes, I guess, but like you also have to figure out like that, or understand that you're a human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like these other artists that are really really good at what they do also, sacrifice that experience of like going and hang out with friends and doing such things, or so you have to figure out what it is you want. Like, are you okay with giving that stuff up? And like if not, then figure out a way to get a little bit of everything, right? Like tailor it. Because it's your life. You get to choose whatever you want to do. Um, so yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think what's the hardest part about committing yourself to art is the fact that hold on, let me try to. Okay, I'm trying to like make sure that the audio is working correctly because I'm seeing like my bar is jumping up a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm getting any double feedback or anything like that. Hopefully not. But
No, not on my end.
okay, great. Yeah. So the hardest thing for me is like maintaining like a relationship with a significant other. Um, they think it's like, oh, it's really cool that you're an artist and you're like really focused and you're really dedicated on it and you have like a goal and you're trying to make it somewhere. You're trying to do something with your life, and this is something you're really passionate about. But they don't understand the amount of effort that is put into artwork. It's not like I wake up one day, I drew every day, and like therefore I got good. Like no, I have to show like my girlfriend's like, this is what I gotta do. I gotta sit down here and I gotta watch these videos, no matter how boring and monotone they are. Like they have a lot of knowledge, and I gotta sit here and try to absorb as much as I can, so I can avoid these mistakes that I'm finding in my art. And it's not the fact that I'm just really really how you say I'm a focused person that's really um, not like fixated. I'm obsessed with my art, where I'm just trying to make it like get to a point where I can like improve, and like therefore like I cannot be denied. Like if I went to go turn in my work or go in for like turning an application or something, like I want to be so good, like I cannot just be denied. And I look at ArtStation, I see other artists, I take examples from other people's artworks, and I say like, okay, if that's the bar, I gotta reach that bar.
Right. So what do you see as good? Like, do you have a bar? Like what artists are you looking at that you're just like, okay, I have to get my work this good?
It varies because there's so many different fields in art, right? So like if I was gonna do illustration,
So do
right?
you have, and I ask these questions with like
Mm-hmm.
specific intention.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason that I bring that up is because a lot of the times
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to like work towards like developing and getting better, like for a skill set, right?
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head when you said like, oh, I want to get work that can't be turned out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also said like you want it to look like you want it to reach a certain bar, right?
Yeah.
So you have to establish a bar. Like what does that bar look like literally lay out art pieces of different artists or art one artist or whatever,
Yep.
and be like, okay, my artwork has to look at this level, right? And
Yes.
then you study that artwork, like look at it and be like, okay, what is it that they're doing? They're doing this, 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 this,
Yep.
right? And then when you're doing your piece, do the checklist, right? So
Yep.
you go to your drawing, your painting, whatever, and you say, okay, does it have focus rendering?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
no. How? So let me do focus rendering. Okay, next checkpoint. Is it look dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, what does look dynamic mean? And then you look at you have like different art references, right?
Yeah.
So like the reason I say to be very specific is because I've known this for a really long time, but I couldn't phrase it right. Um, and I actually was watching Breaking Bad recently,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was phrased by Walter White when he was talking to Jesse um, about some drug lord. They were trying to kill him, and Jesse brought a gun. And he's like, "Well, I'll just shoot him." Um, looks over to him and he says, "How?" Right? And he's like, "Oh, I'll just walk in and I'll blast them." And he's like, "Okay, so how many bullets would it take?" He says, "I don't know, two." And he says, "Okay, so he's usually with somebody, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "Yeah. So how many bullets are you going to put into him?" He says, two. And he's like, "Okay, but that guy usually has more people. So how many bullets do you need?" And then he sat there and he
Yeah.
thought, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Maybe this isn't a good idea, right?"
Exactly. Yeah.
So the reason that I'm tying it into artwork is
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the times we have this grand idea of like doing this amazing artwork, right? But a lot
Yeah.
of the times we don't have an idea of, or a fraction of an idea of like how it is we're going to actually do the artwork.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I think the next best step is not necessarily like, oh, like figure out how you do this very specific rendering, but like figure out the steps that it is that you're gonna need for doing that artwork, right? So like if you have this goal of, I want to do artwork like Sakimi-chan, right? I want my
Yeah.
quality to be like Sakimi-chan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just using this as a vague, because most people know who Sakimi-chan is.
Yep.
Um, so like I want my artwork to look like Sakimi-chan, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal, right? So what are the bullet points I need to hit in order to get my artwork to look like Sakimi-chan? What is the quality that I need to meet? And what is the execution time,
Yeah.
right? So those
Mm-hmm.
are the three pillars. And then you go into each one and then you literally like block out what that looks like, right? So you get images and you like figure it out, right? I did this with a friend, and I tell you, it really really helps
Yeah.
because then you're not just studying, feet for like 3 hours, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like you have a very specific thing that you're looking for, and uh, a lot of the times, um, like one of my friends, right, as a question that he had asked me, he was like, "Oh, like I want to do gesture drawing because it's gonna get me better at gestures." It's like, yeah, it'll get you better at gestures and it'll get you like your characters to look a little bit more dynamic. But do you need that?
Right.
And
Right.
then he says, "Oh, well, I'm trying to get like do artwork that looks like this." And the artwork he showed me was like a landscape. It's like you don't need a gesture drawing for landscape. Why do you need gesture drawing for landscape? You have no characters there.
Right.
And then he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right." And then so he started studying something completely different. Now
Yeah.
this story is a little bit exaggerated because obviously I need to exaggerate it to get the point across, but like it's things like that that you need to sit down and think about because if you have like a generic goal, right, but you don't have a set in stone images that you're comparing to, you don't really have like a point of reference. You're just kind of vaguely referencing anything you see, which is going to influence your artwork and make it look completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have like a very specific niche that you want to fit, right? So like let's say you want to do splash art, right?
Right.
And you start studying. You're like, okay, cool. What do I need to do splash arts? All right, I need thumbnails. I need gesture drawing. I need rendering materials, and then I also need like special effects, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's all you need, right? And so you go and you do all of those things, right? You can do them individually or you can do them together. I recommend doing them all together because then you know what you need to work on. But
Yeah.
then you reference one of the artists that's the splash art, right? And then you're like, okay, what did they do and what can I do? Okay, cool. They have like this little texture thing on top of this blade. How do I do a texture like that? And you look that up and you figure that out, and then you're like, okay, my character has a blade too. I'm gonna do a texture on that. Doesn't have to be the exact same one. It's just that you have like a point of reference, right? Like, oh,
Exactly.
this is the quality. I'm meeting the bar here. This is what I'm doing, right? And I realized that it makes things a lot easier but it also makes things a lot more difficult because you have to narrow down what it is that you're doing. And I know a lot
Yeah.
of artists are like, they shotgun into the universe and they're like, all right, dude, I want to do character design, environment,
Yeah.
product design. Like, it's just like,
I want to
it's
do it
great.
all. I want to do it all.
Yeah, it's great. If your intention is to explore and see what you like, that's great. But if
Yeah.
you know already specifically like what it is you want to do and like the type of artwork that you want to fulfill, and like more importantly, like what it is that you want to do as a person, right? Like
Yeah.
what you want to do in this world, you can tailor your artwork for that. Like you can make artwork specifically designed around doing this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, like so whenever I look at other people's artwork, right? And I break it down. Like I need to see what their sketches look like. I need to see after they're done with the sketches, I want to see what their final work looks like. And that's when I start putting two to two together. Like, okay, their sketches look very constructional. So, if I'm looking at a character artist, and I want to do like character turnarounds and stuff like that, because I think my main goal was like to be an animator, and then I got lost in the sauce and I was like, oh, concept art, and you just end up like bouncing around in the ether until you find yourself where you want to truly be. But whenever I, compared myself to others, I'll see like, okay, construction lines, I see that. So I need to do some anatomy studies. I also got to do some gestures to get nice fluid poses and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting down the body and the proportions and stuff, and I'm getting the construction down, right? It's not to their skill level, but it's good enough for me. All right. The next step is, all right, when I want to add clothes to my characters and I want them to look like it's like they're coming from a world of culture, and I look at the examples that they have and look at all the details they put on, and I'm like, okay, so I gotta get that same amount of detail, and I start going around on Pinterest and stuff like that, looking at different cultures and stuff, and looking at all the extra, the inch, like the little extra bits of clothes. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna add that to my thing. All right, and then it just keeps progressing that way, when I'm like, okay, step by step by step by step, and then rinse and repeat. And I think the entire time, like even when I started my YouTube channel, it's more like I have these theories of like how to get good, like that people don't really like talk about, and it's like I feel like that one character from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't know if his name is Charlie. I'm just gonna say it's Charlie. Like there's like
I think
a
it's Charlie, yeah.
yeah. So
The
that
short one, right?
yeah, it's like that infamous meme where he's like he has a board up, like a detective board with like pictures, images, and strings around. I feel like that cracked out in my mind, like, oh, maybe this is the way, maybe this is the way, and I feel like that is something that I don't know. I feel like all artists do that, where like we have like a crackpot idea of how to approach things, and then
Mhm.
the farther along we go, we start realizing like, oh, I was wrong for doing that. And I was wrong for doing that as well. I might be onto something by doing this, So you start
I
changing
I
your.
also like as like a side note, right?
Uh huh.
I don't think you're wrong, right? I
Yeah.
hear that a lot in like the art world where it's like, oh, you're either right or you're wrong, right? I think like
Yeah.
art is such a like journey that like it may be wrong in terms of like timing, like, oh, like I wasted like 2 years. Like, no, you didn't actually waste 2 years.
Yeah.
You needed that time to develop like your brain,
Yeah.
like in order to like understand that you're doing it wrong, right? It's like I don't know if you've seen, sorry if you could hear my dog wincing in the background, but
That's
like
all good. It's all good.
um basically like when you start playing a game with a friend and you're trying to play a little bit more competitively,
Yeah.
like you need to make mistakes in order to understand that you did it wrong, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
then need to understand why it's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're doing it in a bad way where it's like, oh, it's like this is the wrong way to do this. It's that you needed to take that time to experience that, um, so that like you understand it. So
Yeah.
I don't think you did things wrong. I think it's just you needed to experience it. Um, so take some of that weight off your shoulders.
Thanks, man. But yeah, like I just feel like it's just a wide map, and that's why I like talking to other artists about like, what was your approach? What did you learn throughout all this time of trying to improve and get better? And I scrolled, and it took me forever to scroll down your Instagram. I'm like, bro, you've been consistent, And I'm like, yo, that just inspires me. I'm like, I gotta either step up my game or something, you know?
Yeah. Like I said, it's not about like doing amazing pieces at the beginning. It's mainly about just getting that mileage.
Yeah.
If you want like more into that, you can definitely check out people that I've looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Ahmed Al-Juri
Oh yeah.
is probably the top one for that. He actually has a
Does he
course
still have
out
all
right
his
now that
old
you guys could
work?
check out.
Does he still have all his old
Um,
work on his Instagram or something like that? Like from the very
no,
beginning? I would love to see
he
that.
he he takes he took down his entire Instagram page and remodeled it. He's done that a couple times. But you can still find the old stuff on Pinterest because I saved it there. So
Uh huh.
I've yeah I've I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to say that, but basically I stole it and I put it on Pinterest so that it can stay in the archive
Yeah.
because I was really frustrated the very first time it happened because I there's a piece that I really liked and I was learning from and I was studying
Uh
and
huh.
then it disappeared off the face of the earth and I haven't been able to find it since.
Yeah, man.
So I put that little folder together on Pinterest so that people can still find it of other images that he's made because
Mm-hmm.
it's weird to think about, but like something can happen and then the artwork is gone forever if
Yeah.
somebody doesn't save it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely something that like I recommend is just use Instagram and those kinds of platforms in that way because
Yeah.
it's something that's helped me, right?
Yeah. Same.
And like
As a
you see
navigation
like a
tool.
thousand posts, right? You see like a
Mm-hmm.
thousand whatever posts, but like honestly, it was like you literally post once a day, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is. And like I've deleted like I want to say like 1,000 posts too.
Same.
Like there was a lot.
Yeah. Same.
I've had insane yeah, and like I don't post every day anymore just
Uh
because
huh.
like I don't feel like I need to like before I also felt like I needed to prove myself in
Mm-hmm.
a weird way. Like I needed to show people like I can do this and like I would
Yeah.
draw like a lot and like it was good for mileage and I'm going to do it again like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But like the second part to that is like going back to the whole sacrifices thing, right? You have to give up a lot of stuff to be able to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And posting once a day doesn't mean that you're only going to put like draw that thing and then stop working on stuff. So like if you look on the on like the stuff that I was posting, a lot of it was just some of them were just sketches. They were like literally warm-ups. And then after the warm-ups, I'd work on a comic or I'd go do this illustration or I'd go do that or learn how to paint this or do that. Like it
Yeah.
was always like it's a trickle effect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard like of um, like how to develop strong habits.
Oh yeah.
But like, yeah, it's basically you summed up is you have to put yourself in the best position to want to do or to do it, so
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
force yourself into like developing that and like just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would do is I'd have my backpack ready to go run to the Starbucks and start drawing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, nice.
Which was like,
That's your
yeah,
routine.
which at
That's
the
your
time,
ritual.
yeah, at the time I didn't realize that that was such a really big part of my development was like having to go somewhere to do the artwork and
Yeah.
not just doing it at home.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the second part to that, which I'm really grateful for, is at the time we didn't have internet at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go to Starbucks to actually go on the internet.
Oh, I
So
see.
that was a really, really big help.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't see Starbucks like other people do where it's like go chill and hang out. I saw it very much like, oh, I go there to get all my stuff done because like I
Yep.
don't have internet at home. So I
Yeah.
don't have the luxury of being like, oh, I'll just do it later,
Yeah.
right? So you kind of put yourself in that space of like just do it, do it, do it. And it's really helpful, but after a while you do have to tone it down because it wears you down and then eventually it'll like burn you out. I know burnout, like art burnout, is like a thing for most people.
Oh hell yeah.
I don't necessarily get art burnout because I have methods and things that I do to actually help me, which I'll definitely make a video on in the future. But like for me, it's more like it gets really hard to just sit down and do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the motivational thing. Like I know I can do it, right? It's just like it's wanting to actually finish the piece when it's just like one piece of a bunch of stuff that you have to do. um and you really have to sit down and figure out like, okay, why did I start doing this? Blah 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 blah. And it's just a lot of thinking rather than
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
Um, so I definitely, like I said at the beginning of this whole thing, right? Make sure that you like doing artwork for the right reason. What the right reason is up to you, right? I'm not going to sit here and justify things for people because I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that that's right. But like, you have to understand that it's something that if you're on your deathbed, you have to be comfortable with telling people I have lived a good life, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I see it as that as well.
yeah, yeah. So it's like it's really hard to make the conclusion, and it can change throughout your experiences with artwork. It's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
right? Like I said earlier, there's no real wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
There's just different ways upon getting there.
Yeah.
But some answers get you there faster,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not about speed. It's not a race. Um, but like I said, if you're getting into it for money, if you're getting into it for fame, it's just the chances that you're actually going to succeed are like incredibly low.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, in all honesty, even when you do get it, like that fame, right?
Yep.
Fame in artwork isn't like fame as a musician,
No.
right? I
No.
don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that meme?
No.
It's like the famous artist before he was famous, and it's like
Yeah.
it's them with like a hoodie, like in a dark room,
Yeah.
and they're drawing, right? And
Yeah.
it's like famous artists after they were popular. It's like
Still
the
same.
same scene.
Yeah,
It's
still
like
same.
you literally nothing changes.
Nothing.
So like it's not like being like a rock star where it's like, oh,
Uh,
before you were indie, you were playing to like nobody,
yeah.
and then like you're playing in a concert with like thousands of people and people are recognizing
Uh,
you on the street, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not that kind of attention.
No, it's not.
So if you're getting it into it for that reason, for the attention thing,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely recommend doing almost anything else because it will satisfy that need that you want, like
Yeah.
intrinsically.
Yeah.
And that in itself is more important than telling somebody, "Oh yeah, I'm good at drawing," right?
Yeah.
So I highly recommend for those people that have that feeling in them, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to tell anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can tell people like, "Oh yeah, I kind of fell off of drawing. Like I thought it was cool, but I'm not really into it," right?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to change your mind, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, so like just kind of take it as you go, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people too, like personally, that are like, "Oh, you gotta pick like what you want to do, like, and then just gotta do it, and you gotta bust your ass." And like,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like, yeah, dude, sure, like,
Yeah.
okay, Gary, but I don't even think Gary. I honestly, dude, I don't even think Gary Vay even says that. He's very much like, "What does this make you feel? Why do you feel shitty?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, get off your ass and fucking do it. Like, do
Yeah.
do the thing that you want to do. Don't fucking try to satisfy other people's, you're trying to flex on people that don't give a damn."
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's one of the things that why I vibe with him is because it's that harsh reality or the harsh truths. It's more like
I like him because he feels authentic.
yeah, like
Like he's not telling you this stuff just to like piss you off. He's telling
yeah,
you because like it's his experience, you know?
yeah. And I also think it comes from a place of like frustration as well because as you're growing up and you're just trying to figure out what you want to do and you're like, well, there's things that my parents want me to do and I want to make them happy, but I feel miserable doing it. And it's like just do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like do what makes you happy. If fail. Like what I really appreciate about it is like the fact that he is normalizing failure, and is not seen as a bad thing.
Yeah. But I also, I want to preference this, right? It's like with another statement. Failure is a way to develop, right?
Yeah,
But only failing doesn't get you results. You have
yeah.
to actually get results in order to. So like, yeah, fail,
Mm-hmm.
but then follow that up with like, okay, why did I fail? Like,
Yeah,
examine it. Don't just
examine
do the same thing again and make,
it. I just keep taking L's.
um,
I don't know why.
yeah, I just keep taking L's, man. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, yeah, well, sit
Yeah,
down and figure out what you're doing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but that's also one thing that I would recommend to artists with like figuring out how to fix something or how to make it look like a certain style. Like, I remember when I was doing like warm up sketches in my sketchbook,
Uh huh.
I would constantly think, okay, why does this look weird, or why does this look not straight, or just things. Ask yourself questions, right? And then look
Yeah.
at artwork that you want to either replicate or be close to, and measure it out and like see it and like look at what shapes they use, and then just like take it apart.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can do that. It's not impossible. It's fairly easy. Like I was able to do it, so I'm pretty sure you are too.
Yeah.
Um, and like yeah, just follow a lot of artists. Look at what other people are doing. Not in like a jealous way either. Just like
Yeah.
it's cool to find new artists, and that's also
Oh,
one thing that I
it's my
push on
favorite
All
thing to
Art No
do.
Breaks.
That's my favorite thing
Yeah,
to do.
the
I tell people like all the time, like when I get on Twitch, but right before streaming or sometimes right after streaming, I'll just go to the art category, browse whoever's drawing. I'll just like click on the Instagram, click on whatever social media they have, and like follow them and just watch their work and just see the progression. Like,
mhm.
it's so nice.
Yeah, I do. I don't necessarily like follow a bunch of artists, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like what I do like doing is like I like going on ArtStation and just finding artists, like work of artists that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily go like to streams and stuff and like see artists because I don't really care about how they like the process of actually making it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, it's not so much like what the artwork, how the artwork was made. It's more about how it makes you feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like one thing that I really like doing is that I like to play card games, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
because they are probably card games to me are probably one of the best representations of art
Mm-hmm.
making people feel something.
Oh yeah.
Because you either feel horrible because somebody beat you with a card, right, and you hate that
Yeah.
card, or you feel like on top of the world and everything makes sense because
Mm-hmm.
you were able to make this combo or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you popped off this one match, and it's
It's like
it's
a
such a
mental
good feeling
stimulation
to
type of thing
get,
for me.
and a casual thing you can do with friends that
Yeah.
like you could just you experience it and you look at the artwork and subconsciously I remember what the artwork like looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't zoom in on the artwork. I didn't get a magnifying glass and
Yeah.
like try to figure out what it looked like. No, that I remember what it looked like vaguely, and what it made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably my favorite like excerpt out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also, like I said, that's why I like card games so much, because
Yeah.
they make you feel so many different things,
Oh
and
yeah.
and you experience it with other people, and like just a social aspect to it and the playability of it, and
Mm-hmm.
like going up to your friend and being like, dude, look what card I got in this new pack, and then they're just like, oh, like everybody blows up. Like just those memories are really good, and I remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's things I would change for my own projects, but like the idea of that is really important.
Oh
um
yeah.
but I think I'm just rambling on now.
It's all right, man. Yeah. It's like I like thinking about this as of a this is a private 101. Like if we were just chatting at a table or chatting at a coffee shop or something like that. It's like coffee conversations, and just getting a perspective and a different
Yeah,
view of how you see things. And I think this is important for other people as well. Like it can be on any topic, but I like to cater these topics and stuff for artists. So maybe like whatever you said or whatever I said might change their mentality on how they approach and view things, because
hmm
it's so easy to get lost between all these other I guess art advice or YouTubers, and it's like it just gets to a point where like I think they're all kind of like just saying the same thing, and it's not
yeah,
really a conversation or a dialogue between two people, and not about like, oh, all the successes and your advice, this, that, and the other, but like let me know your mentality behind it. I want to know like what's your thought process and how you took your journey on like being an artist, because everyone's journey is so widely different, so
yeah.
widely different.
I feel like the common thing that I always hear is like the grinding thing, or like
Yeah.
you just gotta like you gotta just sit down and just do the work, and it's great and all, but
Yeah.
frankly it's become super cringe. Like
Yeah.
I'm so over that. I remember and I used to be one of those that would say that, and
Hmm.
nothing bad against those people who think that way.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a linear way of thinking of things, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't help you develop. It's just
No.
like, yeah, do the work, and it's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, like
Yeah.
obviously, but like everybody knows that. I think deep
Yeah.
down inside, everybody knows. Oh yeah, I need to draw,
Yeah.
but like you don't need to keep like grind. Like I think grind culture is really toxic because
Mm-hmm.
it focuses on just doing work and it doesn't
Yeah.
focus on
The work
anything else.
mentality. Yep.
Yeah, it's like a business mentality of like execution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to fulfill this contract, you have to do this thing, which is
Mm-hmm.
good to a point, right?
Yeah.
But like when you're doing that in like a daily life and you have like, wife and kids maybe and all of
Mm-hmm.
this, like you can't think that way.
Yeah.
Like that's not how people like function, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like, oh, I'm gonna take the kids to school. Yes, honey. Okay, good. Like goes to work. Fucking, takes the kids to school, drops them off. Like there's kisses involved. There's conversations involved. There's development involved. There's like, making breakfast and like those
Mm-hmm.
those small moments that you take advantage of and you don't really think about where it's like, oh, I spent 30 minutes making eggs
Mm-hmm.
and with bell peppers in it for my son, right? And then we
Yeah.
were talking about something he was struggling at school for like an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like those moments are really, really important, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you don't think about them as an artist as much because you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna do some artwork,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or like not even as an artist, but like as like somebody who grinds, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna grind. Like I'm thinking about the grind. Like I'm all about the grind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have a shirt. It says grind reel. It's like, it, it's like okay, like I get that. Like that's great and all, but you have to balance it out. And it's something
Mm-hmm.
that I've personally really struggled with. It's like
Yeah.
the life work balance.
Yeah.
And even to this day, like sometimes I'm like, shit, man. Like I feel like I just keep doing artwork and not getting any benefits from,
Mm-hmm.
but like, or not benefits, but like I'm not seeing results.
Yeah.
Um, but then I think back, like, why is it that I'm doing this artwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to make this thing that's gonna help people or allow people to feel this way with my artwork,
Yeah.
right? And so that's I think back to that. I'm like, okay, this is the ultimate goal, right? This is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to do. What it looks like is irrelevant. So then I remind myself, and then I go back and I go do that, all the other stuff. Um, and so that's just like giving a little bit of context to it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, grand cultures are
Yeah.
really weird.
And the thing is, like, when you get into that grind mode, because I seen it all. I seen it. I seen these young artists. They just like, yeah, I'm drawing these boxes. Yeah, I'm doing the fundamentals, and it's like all they're doing is fundamentals. And I used to be that person that did nothing but fundamentals. I used to do fundamentals 5 to 6 hours every single day in my first year of trying to like develop my art skills, trying to
Uh-huh.
build up that quote unquote mileage. And then eventually it gets to a point where it's like, yo, this whole grinding thing is very, very like toxic to me. Like I'm not enjoying
Yeah,
art anymore. I'm starting to develop a negative relationship towards it.
yeah.
And you know what? I found out like I just like drawing anime and I like drawing like cool characters. I like drawing dynamic poses. I just want to draw really cool looking shit. All right, then let me draw really cool looking stuff. And I don't know if they're like, is this is what they call comfy art? But I do a lot of comfy art just to fulfill myself. Like I like the working for others. I like the
So
whole, I'm gonna sit down and get things done. But I also need time to like I think the best art comes from people who are having fun, they're relaxed, and they're enjoying the process. Even if it's
yeah,
shitty, it comes out looking a
yeah.
hundred times
So
better because you put your love and happiness into it.
yeah, and to expand on like this, what you just said, right? I
Yeah.
think it's important to like what you do, right,
Mm-hmm.
as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, the money sometimes isn't, the best, as in terms of payouts or whatever, or like
Yeah.
contract work, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not the best, right? So you
Yeah.
actually have to like learn to enjoy doing the work because
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't feel like work, right?
Yep.
As
Yep.
a primary, right?
Yep.
The secondary to that is that if you build that negative association with artwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine doing something that you actually don't like doing, like you don't care about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we want you to draw trees for the like concept trees
Mm-hmm.
for our world. Okay, great. You're gonna be drawing trees for like a week, right? Like that shit. That is not the most interesting thing to do. We want you to draw the walls and figure out what the walls look like in our game.
Yeah.
You know how fun? Like that's not the funnest thing in the world,
No.
right? Like that's kind of boring, low
Mm-hmm.
key. but like it's stuff they need to do, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in production, like as a in like a production sense, like okay, that's great, right?
Yeah.
But like when you say comfy zone or comfy art, right?
Yeah.
I don't I don't see comfy like how it's phrased.
Yeah.
I think that type of artwork is more like true to the individual, right?
Yeah.
So you know how like I like to separate artwork into two categories of like actually like doing artwork, right?
Yeah.
So like there's industry artwork where it's like, oh, I'm gonna do turnarounds, I gotta do character designs, I have to do color variations, I have to do thumbnails, have to do splash art, right?
Yeah.
Those are business, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
art with a purpose, a specific intention.
Yeah.
And then there's artwork that you do to satisfy a personal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like this artwork, I don't really have a name for it, but it's basically just artwork that you make to scratch the itch that you have inside of you, right? And it
Yeah.
satisfies you. Um, and this artwork can't always make money. You can't really monetize it all the time, or it's like fan art of something that you enjoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this artwork brings the most joy out of all of the artwork, right?
Yeah.
Because it's doing what you want to do, right? So by doing, let's say, you know how you said you like doing anime, right?
Yep.
So like that's not bad. Like I,
Mm-hmm.
I I wouldn't say that's comfy art, right?
Yeah.
Because comfy to me sounds like oh, like it's just like easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing anime, let me tell you, is not the easiest thing, right?
Yeah.
Like doing it at a high level is not easy. It's probably one of the more difficult things
Yeah.
because you're not only doing like more realistic stuff, but you're also doing stylized stuff, and you have to balance it
Yeah.
so it looks right. So
Yeah.
like it gets increasingly difficult, right? And
Yeah.
people that say, "Oh, it's so easy," 9 times out of 10 can't really draw anime.
Yeah.
So get out of here.
Yeah.
Um, so like that in itself, right? That will help you develop, right? And if you like
Mm-hmm.
doing it, chase that, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Jetty Jet. I don't know if you know who Jetty Jet is, but
I
like
know
a long
Jetty
time
Jet.
ago, I
Yeah.
heard him.
I watched
Yeah,
some of
he's
his
like
YouTube
just
videos.
yeah. He. I remember one time. I don't know if it was at Anime Expo or I was watching a video.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was watching a video at Anime Expo. I don't know, but I do remember anime at some point,
Yeah.
and I think he said like to draw whatever it is that you like in that moment and then keep it fun. And then I don't know, that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that's why I like draw fantasy stuff and like sometimes I'll do fan art, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just because like in that moment that was fun. But
Yeah.
in the now, I want to do this or I want to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of help you develop as an artist. And like also, it expresses your taste, right? Like
Yeah.
you like it shows what you like, the type of stories you like, the engagement you like, all of that. It's all
Yeah.
it's all one thing.
Yeah. All I know is like if I am enjoying what I'm doing, like truly enjoying, the artwork tends to look 1,000 times better. Like a million
Yeah.
times better.
Yeah. It's because you're um it puts you into the zone easier. I don't know if you know about the zone, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, going back to your habit building. Um, yeah, did you ever like read the book Atomic Habits?
Not really.
Yeah, like just making that, I guess, routine for yourself to keep
Hmm.
doing something, and eventually every drop of water turns into a glass of water or a pond or a river or whatever, and that's where you see growth, especially if it's like something that's positive. I think that's
Yeah.
something like really really important for people to start doing, especially if they wanted to get better or improve in any type of way. Like I like to look at my
Yeah.
artwork and be like, yeah, I did that. So it's just
Yeah,
something
I
like
think
I,
so
I
too.
want to just bring back to just like make a routine, make it into a fun activity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do with like how you do it rather than how long you do it.
Yeah.
Um, that's more important than actually like
Mm-hmm.
the amount of time.
Yeah.
But the thing about artwork is that you need everything at once. Like literally the stars need to align
Yeah.
for you to do your best work.
Yeah.
Or at least it feels that way sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah. I need a
uh,
certain amount of sleep. I gotta have like some
yeah.
type of caffeine in me.
Yeah, like and I've spoken with professionals and I'm slowly starting to understand this idea, but like you remember how I said there's two different ways of doing artwork, or there's
Hmm.
two different types of artwork, I mean.
Yeah.
So like in the first, right, where you're doing the artwork as a business, right?
Uh
You have
huh.
to have like a way of doing it, like a method, right? And you can think of the method kind of like a cooking recipe.
Hmm.
And this is also from Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah.
It's called a cook for a reason because
Yeah.
you have a recipe, and it doesn't matter like what you do as long as you follow the recipe. The cook should come out correct, right?
Yes.
So very
Yes.
much like in like a business, like I need to do a turnaround or whatever, right? If you have a
Hmm.
formula and you follow that formula, it will look good.
Yeah.
Period. No ifs, ands, or buts, right?
Hmm.
Um, but the other artwork where it's like you're satisfying that itch you have to scratch,
Hmm.
that artwork requires you to get in the zone, which in and of itself is difficult for some people.
Yeah.
B, um, you have to know what it is that you're going to draw,
Hmm.
right? And C, you have to know like what you want the artwork to fulfill, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's like personal or you want to say a message or whatever, like it needs to have a purpose.
Hmm.
Um, and those three things, like I said, the stars need to align and they have to like be
Yeah.
perfect in order for you to actually like big brain, like, okay, I'm gonna make this artwork, right? And like
Yeah.
sometimes they don't, and you just make like, let's say like some anime character doing a thing, right? And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but like you'll think in the back of your head, right? Like, oh, this is
Hmm.
cool, this is great. And like it satisfies your itch. But like to everyone else, it's just like, oh, it's just a character. Like I don't get it. What is this? Um, which
Yeah.
that's why I say like it's like a personal thing. Like you're making artwork for yourself, not for everybody else.
Yeah.
But at least from what I've noticed, like if you do that for yourself for a really long time,
Yeah.
like people gravitate towards that. Like if you go on Instagram and you just make artwork like that and you
Hmm.
post it on your page and that's all you have on your page, people gravitate towards it because it's
Hmm.
like they go to that page for that, right?
For that exact
People like to
thing.
put people into boxes on Instagram, basically.
Oh hell yeah! I also kind of find that like kind of annoying as well. Like, like I came
Yeah.
here for anime shit. I came here for the fan art. I want to see nothing but Naruto or Jujutsu Kaisen fan art, and you over here drawing video game shit. I did not sub for
Yeah.
this. Give me
Yeah.
one
It's like,
second. I need to like run and use the bathroom real quick. I'll
no
be
worries,
right
dude.
back.
For those of you watching, I want to say thank you for coming to the stream and for listening to us chat. I know it's probably gonna take out a chunk of your day because we're taking it slowly, but yeah, thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing to my friend here. Um, definitely check out more of his content. He's a very swell boy, and he's a good dude. So yeah. Also, don't forget to hit the like button on YouTube, subscribe, and comment down below how you guys like the interview so far.
All right, I am back. All that coffee and the hydration got to me.
Don't
Oh.
worry, dude. I took that time to promote.
Oh, thanks, man. I do a really shitty job at like self promoting. Like I just don't I
You
don't
just
promote as often,
Yeah, I promote
even when
like
my
all of my
streams.
videos. What I so like there's like I don't know if you know like 1,000K Andes, like you gotta like literally in every video just like tell people, hey, like, comment, subscribe kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
because like people just don't naturally do that.
Mm-hmm.
But
You just
like
watch it and
the
leave.
more yeah, the more people that like know your work, like you don't have to do that as much.
Yeah,
um but yeah, I don't know, I do it. I think it's fun.
yeah.
I like saying the little catchphrase thing. I'm kind of growing away from the stay mystical thing, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do something else, but at the moment, that's all I got.
I don't know, man. I feel like when it comes to making content, right? You're just kind of playing around. You're flumming around and like, oh, maybe I'm gonna say this, or maybe I'm gonna outro with this, or intro with this, and then you'll just eventually find your norm. And
Yeah,
I advise anyone that's like, oh, I always want to make a YouTube video, or oh, I always wanted to stream on Twitch. Stream. It's gonna be awkward for sure, but the more you do it, like you'd be surprised. People just start assuming shit about you, like, "Oh, you seem so confident and eloquent, and you like so well spoken." I'm like, "Bruh, I have like mini anxiety attacks about like how everything's about to freaking go whenever I turn on my camera or whenever I speak." But I also think it
yeah, I
builds like
definitely.
a good um was it attribute or character trait of like getting comfortable with yourself. So when you're out in the world talking and stuff, it's a lot easier because you talk all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's like it's a there's a technique called using the fear.
Yeah.
I don't know if they call that anymore, but basically like you use that fear
Uh huh.
to make you like say things or do things. Um, so like when you're talking and like making a presentation or something,
Yeah.
kind of like streaming on Twitch or whatever, you use that like fear, those butterflies in your tummy from the
Yeah.
nerves, as like fuel for doing whatever it is you're gonna do.
Yeah.
So you incentivize yourself to kind of do the thing.
Yeah.
I don't
I think it's a very valuable skill. You know,
know. Yeah, fear
especially.
is probably one of the strongest motivators for most people.
Oh hell yeah. When Gary Vaynerchuk would talk about like uh what do I do to get started? Like how do I get myself motivated to start something? It's like you're going to die. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh
yeah,
shit, yeah, we will. Like, and then what you have left? What you got to say for it? You have anything like you left behind for people that you helped or anything like that?
yeah. Like, I think somebody told me this a long time ago, and I remember it to this day. Um, which is, I think it was actually Gary. He said, work. You work towards your grave.
Yeah.
Um, and what that means is like you want to do good by people so that when you die,
Mm-hmm.
they help the people that you leave behind.
Yeah.
Somebody join or leave?
What's
Uh.
up?
Oh, Redo.
Hello.
This is Redo. He's one of my amazing friends I met. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last
Some,
year. It was
something
definitely
like
last
that.
year. Yeah, so he every now and then he pops in and he helps me co-host the interview. I'm sorry
Cool.
I didn't tell you that earlier. I thought he was just like busy. My bad, we do.
Nah, it's fine.
Yeah. So we just
That's
chopping
cool.
it
No
up,
worries.
just talking.
Oh, you just chilling, right?
Yeah, we're streaming on Twitch and we're talking about the pitfalls of art, philosophies and mentality when it comes to improving and stuff like that.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
word.
But I
You got
definitely need to talk
getting
to you
into it.
later though.
Oh, word.
Yeah. Oh, Mystic.
What about?
About that the guy from Discord. The
Oh
what's
yeah,
his
oh
name?
yeah. Bando.
Yeah, Bando. I gotta talk to you later about that. But I
All
also
right,
want to
cool.
adjust a question to Mystic. So, are you still currently trying to get into the industry in some way?
Yeah, in some way. Currently I'm kind of working towards board games, and tabletop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying
Hmm.
to make a card game for my portfolio that I can then showcase to different studios and
Mm-hmm.
try to get work there.
Okay.
I currently have stuff, yeah, like ready to just show studios and like be like, hey, this is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
If you need anything, just let me know.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the goal right now is to get
Mm-hmm.
into tabletop stuff. The only thing is that tabletop stuff is it fluctuates if you're not working with a specific company. So like
Yeah.
finding one is a little bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah. Was it? I remember when I first met you. You mentioned about like establishing connections and like what with the Blizzard or Riot. Is that still a place
Establishing
that?
connections.
Is that a
Um,
place you're still like trying to aim to work in one day, or your goals have
Not necessarily.
changed?
I used to think that I wanted to work at like Riot
Hmm.
or Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
Um, Blizzard not so much anymore. Riot I would like to work at specifically just to kind of learn the pipeline that they do and like the
Yeah.
process that they do. But you know, I would love to work on Legends of Runeterra.
Uh
Like
huh.
I've been doing a lot of work for different card games, and I think card games is like where I'm feel the most comfortable.
Uh huh.
Um, but like in terms of like would I work on like let's say like League of Legends, like I don't see myself working on League of Legends
Hmm.
just because I don't quite enjoy doing turnarounds and things like that. I think if the opportunity presented itself and they were like, hey, we want you to do a turnaround, I'll be like, all right, great, I'll do it, yeah. Because why would you turn that down? Um,
Exactly.
like it's just an experience, right? Like even
Hmm.
if you don't like it, then that's great, that's fine. Just do your best and then go about your way. Like um, there's a difference between doing a job and doing personal work, and I actually learned it recently, or like maybe like a year or two ago. A friend was like, you don't have to put everything in your portfolio, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's true, very
Yeah.
true. Um, yeah, at the time I had like 100 and something pieces in my portfolio just to
Oh
give you
my
context.
god. Oh my
Yeah,
god. Damn.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
but like, what is that magic number? Is it like 10 to 12, or even
it varies
less?
from field to field.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff you want to put more work in, sometimes you don't. Um, Depending on what you want to do. Character designers typically you want to have like 3 to 4, maybe even 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to have iterations and you want to have a line of characters.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have turnarounds. You want to have object takeaways and like all that stuff.
Yeah. And callbacks.
Um, yeah, callbacks, things like that. Like you need all of that as a character designer.
Yeah.
Um, and like sketchbook stuff too is really important in character design.
Oh,
They
really?
don't talk about it as much,
They really don't.
but it's something that they need sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but speaking of character design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like if you want to be a character designer, you have to get into 3D.
Yeah.
That's just the market now.
I'm finding that
So
out
And
recently.
yeah,
not
so like
only that, it's a great tool, even if you are still doing 2D shit,
Yeah.
because like we don't have to work as hard. We have these tools, we might as well use them.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, I do think it's important to use the tools, but also to understand how to do it if you didn't have the tools.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So just as a prefix to or like a I don't know closing statement to that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's definitely something noteworthy, I guess.
Definitely.
Is there any questions or topics you want to bring up, Redo?
Um, I'm not too sure. Let's see. Is teaching something you think you might get into in the future? Because I know I've considered it, but I want to get like a good mainstay in the industry before I actually try to do something like that.
If I'm being completely honest, no. I don't like the idea of teaching people things. I have a couple of tutorials on the internet that I have on my YouTube channel. Those were there just because I saw everybody else doing it, so I figured I should make some and see what happens.
Uh-huh.
Like see if I generated any views or anything.
Uh-huh.
Ironically, one of my series, Study With Me, it's a series I started a really long time ago,
Uh-huh.
where I would just do like studies of like different artists and stuff, and then show like a time lapse of it, and then just talk about it. So that series did well. I have one video that was really popular with the Krenz community. I don't know if you guys know who Krenz is.
Krenz Kuchart.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
have made
Krenz
a video
Kuchart.
like that too, like trying to understand Krenz Kuchart way of like learning how to rotate objects in 3D space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing is that at the time I didn't understand what featuring meant, and
Mm.
so in the title I put featuring Krenz, and the
Oh.
video blew up. Um,
How many
and
comments you
it's
get
now I
saying
think if
like
you
you
search
lied
it,
to
it's probably
us?
top 3. Yeah, I think if you search the name now, it's probably like top 3 because it has like 5,000 something views.
God
That's
damn.
hilarious.
Yeah, so I don't really like the notion of teaching,
Yeah.
mainly because I don't think I understand artwork enough to be able to be like, all right, this is what you have to do, or like to have that confidence behind it.
Yeah.
Maybe I do have that, but I don't know.
I'm looking at the
I think
SciShow
artwork is
now,
very
and I'm
difficult.
like, you can teach someone something.
but
Yeah.
you don't feel ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like
not
it's
necessarily
like,
ready. I just don't like the notion of guiding people. Like
oh,
with
you don't want
artwork.
to be. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I understand what you
Yeah. It's not so much like the technical skill. I think like
mean.
I have some skill set. Obviously, I'm here, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think I have that or some of it, but I don't feel like it's um I don't feel like having the skill alone is enough to justify me making videos or teaching people about
Yeah.
how to do artwork, which is
Yeah.
why my YouTube channel's in a very weird state right now.
Mhm.
Its main focus is to help people find what it is that they like to do with
Yeah.
artwork or what they like about artwork.
Mhm.
Um, because I feel like that's one of the questions that most people don't have answers. And 9 times out of 10, I kid you not, dude, I have a lot of friends that are a little bit older and they realize that they don't actually like doing artwork. Like
Yeah.
they like the idea of it, of like telling somebody, oh yeah, I do like character design, right? But then like when it comes to actually working on characters design stuff, like in the industry,
Mhm.
they're like, dude, what the hell? Why do we have to do turnarounds? This is shitty. This is boring. Nobody cares about this. It's like they don't actually like doing it.
Yeah.
And then they realize, like shit, I got into this for the wrong reason. I was getting into it because of clout and
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
there's a lot of people who do that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
sometimes
but
they don't realize until it's too late.
yeah, it's never too late. You can always
Mhm.
change what you're doing.
Oh
Always.
yeah. Always.
Um,
Yeah,
Always
you
pivot.
can make mistakes until you're 30 and be completely fine.
Mhm.
and that's what the 20s are
Um,
for.
yeah, you can, you know, I think I know I keep quoting Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm really not a huge fanboy on him, but he says a lot of really good things that I take into account when I say these kinds of things.
Mhm.
So he said you can fuck up literally your entire life until you're 30 and be completely fine.
Yep.
And like take your 20s as like a learning experience. And
Experiment.
then yeah, and like go do a bunch of shit and fail and like mess up and figure out why you messed up and then like that's literally the reason why people are different is because you have different experiences. So by you not failing and doing that thing, you're not giving yourself that experience and that full human like experience. Like
Mhm.
you don't get that.
Yeah.
So you have to in your if you want to, you have to do something similar to that. Um even if it's exploring like a career path that like is like very iffy or whatever, it's like if that's what you like and that's what you want to try, then go ahead and try it. You're still young, you can
Mhm.
recover, you're fine. But
Yeah,
you know
and
time is the man's worst enemy, I guess.
Yeah.
and something, and like, yeah, the earlier the better. So if you're in high school and you're watching this or listening to this right now, like,
Man, the earlier the
just
better,
go,
man.
yeah, go do shit. Like, we're only saying this because this is all the shit that we wish we were told
Man.
as soon as possible. And it
Man.
makes you wonder, what is everybody doing if not telling people younger what they wish they knew at their age? You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah,
I'm not saying to go
I
get
think
mad at your
if
parents or anything, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think if I could tell somebody like if somebody came up to me, right, and this is completely not related to art, right?
Mhm.
Somebody came up to me and they were like, hey, I'm having trouble figuring out what to do with my life. I would be like, same, dude.
oh
Because
yeah,
like there's so many different things that you have to solve in order to actually be okay with what you're doing in this current moment, that like
yeah,
me telling you, oh yeah, this is what you have to do, is like it's such a lie. Like
Yeah.
professionals that I know personally tell themselves like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, right? It's like, dude, but you're like amazing at painting, or you can do this thing super well. Like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, but like, like as a person, like I don't, like I feel like I'm missing some stuff, or like I have all this money, but like, I don't, like you will always feel like you don't have enough of either money or experience or
Mhm.
whatever. You will always feel like there's something more you can do.
Yeah.
That feeling doesn't go away. That's why some people like recommend like get have fun chasing the dragon, meaning like
Yeah.
just have fun like doing the thing, like don't worry too much about the end result, because like it's the process that you will enjoy and look back on in the future rather than like what you received from it. But
Yeah.
some people are the opposite. Some people like trophies, right?
Yeah.
So like they like to talk about like how hard it was to get the thing, and then they got the thing and they were happy,
Yeah.
right? But then, you know, in reality it's like, okay, Jim, but why are you here like working under a firm when you receive medals from running a marathon? Like I don't understand, like what,
Mm-hmm.
why are you bringing that up here? um but you know,
Yeah.
people do what they do for a reason. They're trying to fulfill something.
Yeah.
You know, I came to the recent conclusion that that feeling of like you're never like, especially when you see someone who's good at a thing, especially like good at artwork, and they always feel like it's not good enough, like they always want to get better. I really like that feeling itself is not a bad feeling. If you always feel like that, it's not a bad thing. You just have to turn it into a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because from my
Yeah.
perspective, that is what keeps pushing you to constantly get better. Because if you just suddenly one day like, oh, I'm good enough, you'll never improve after that. So like, what's the point? So that feeling itself is the passion. That's how you know you have a passion for something. That's how you know
Mm-hmm.
you're like you're in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I tell
I don't
people
know.
like whenever you're drawing and you're really trying like to improve, and like it's really like off-putting that like your drawing skills is not as cool as you had in your head, and you're drawing kind of like subpar in your head you're drawing subpar. I'm like, yo, enjoy the shittiness, man. Like you gotta like laugh at
Honestly,
yourself every
yeah.
now and then because it's like hilarious, you know. It's fun, and
But
then
at
when
the
you
same
get
time,
good enough, you're gonna be like, I ain't gonna be drawing like this anymore.
well, it's like at the same time you can't let that consume you either.
Yeah.
Because like you have to look back and be like, all right, I'm pretty good. Like I got stuff going for myself. Still
Mm-hmm.
not where I want to be, but I'm still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like everything's a balance,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. I like to look at it like, you know, you're in the forest and you have your skill set of whatever it is that you're able to do, and you're alone and you have to survive. And what are you gonna do to survive? Are you gonna keel over and just die? No, you're gonna try your best, right? With whatever you have, your current skills.
Mhm.
So just do that, right? Follow that
Right,
truth
right,
and
right.
see where it leads you.
Oh man. Going back to the teaching thing, I feel like
Yeah,
not even like I feel, but I think like even if you're not like the best teacher, I would love the idea of teaching someone something, and it's not for
yeah.
the fact of like I really want to help you out. If you get any some type of like value out of this, that's great. But also, I'm also teaching myself at the same time to keep reminding myself like about these things that I'm trying to improve on.
So
I
do you
mean,
do you know a
it's
lot about the
never
art
ending
circle?
thing.
No. What do you mean by the art
So
circle?
the
Yeah.
art circle is like, it's how all artists begin and how they end. So like,
Mm.
or like it's a full cycle. So like you start off like learning how to do art and you're really obsessed with it, and then you get good at it, and then you're making artwork as a professional and you're satisfied with that. But
Mm-hmm.
then you want to give back to the community that gave to you, so you make videos to give to that community,
Mm-hmm.
and then you teach like that artwork to other people to inspire them and, you know, help them reach their goals, and then you die, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that's the full circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I say that with like, you know, a light tone, right? I'm not saying like, oh yeah, you're gonna die after you teach, but the reason is because like I believe that like if you do well, if you know how to do something and you just make a video on just making the thing, right? People that
Yeah.
actually want to learn, they don't need a tutorial video, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have learned how to do stuff from things that are not tutorials, like literally just sitting there
Ooh,
watching them,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
So if you
that
truly want to
depends on
learn
the
how to do
person.
something, you do not have to you don't need a tutorial, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
sit there, look at the image, and try to figure out how they did it, right? It's simple, right? Test out like, hey, does this work? Nope. Does this work? Nope. But like what I'm getting at is like you don't need somebody to sit there and spoon feed it to you, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that I remember, like thinking back now, like some of the artists that I followed a lot, like Ahmed Al-Duri. Something he said was like, you don't want to be that artist that's waiting for a tutorial to come out so that you can know how to do something. You want to be the pioneer that makes that tutorial.
Oh yeah.
Meaning
yeah.
like you want to like learn how to do it first so that you know how to do it and nobody else does.
Yeah, and you can share it.
And yeah, or not even share it. You could just do it, just make it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like you gotta keep in mind, like the purpose of artwork isn't to teach. The purpose of artwork is to make artwork, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's counterintuitive to just be like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do this thing. All right, now I'm gonna teach everyone. It's like, yeah, that's great, right? But the primary purpose is to make artwork. We often get lost in the sauce of like, oh, I want to do this or do that, but like I said earlier, right at the beginning of the thing, I might keep going back to it because it's really important. Is you have to figure out what it is you want to do, right? What is the purpose of your artwork and what is it going to fulfill? Because saying, okay, I want to do all this amazing artwork. All right, cool. I also want to make tutorials. You're literally going in two opposite directions, right? It's really hard to do both. And I can tell you from personal experience, it is very hard to do both. Because you're going to be focusing on trying to like do this amazing artwork right on your left, and then on your right side it's like, okay, I'm going to make tutorials on how to do this one little piece, and it's just like, okay, but that's going to be counterintuitive because now I have to go back to do this, and I have to format this, and I have to do this, and I have to record this part and do this, and I have to redo this part. Like you're putting more work into how it's made than you're putting work into making the work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like just knowing how to do it and teaching yourself, I think is more important than teaching other people, because there will always be, those, I call them sparks, right?
Yeah.
It's in reference to magic, but like there's always going to be those people that like it just clicks, dude.
Yeah.
Like it just like they just get it, and they're just like, oh, like I know how he put this layer under this layer. He put this one to multiply, and he did this to screen. That's how he did it, right?
Yeah.
I can look at artwork and say that I can do that now. I couldn't do that before, right?
Yeah.
But like, it is what it is, right? And like, I'm not always right? It's like a trial and error thing. But like the fact that you can guess how they did it is really, really important, because then you can like dissect stuff and like figure out how to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's my spiel on education. I didn't get like a formal like art education, so I had to teach myself a lot of stuff. So it's like and even by like artists that like I really liked, they've told me that is probably one of the most important skills you have to develop and learn as an artist, is like you don't rely on other people to teach you stuff. It's just not the way to go.
I'm really glad you brought up that factor, because that is something, like I was really going to bring up something like similar. You said a lot of like great stuff, and like really just about everything you said is true. It's just that whatchamacallit, because I've been like, this is what I realized recently, right? Because I have a lot of like artist friends now, and I'm like talking to different people, seeing all these different types of artists and how other people think. And then there's the people that really want everything spoon fed to them. Usually, like they're like just now learning. You know what I'm saying? They weren't like, it wasn't something they've always done. So like they don't have that mentality to figure the stuff out like the way you're saying that you should. Like that's the way it always came to me. I would look at something and be like, okay, I do it however I figure out how to do it. I don't ask exactly what steps they took unless I like absolutely like need a tip or two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's like that like separation where it's like, the thing I always try to talk to them about is like you gotta feel it. Like you gotta like no, like quite literally.
You gotta feel it.
It's second nature. It becomes like an autopilot. You know what I'm saying? And that's like the creative side of it. So, and like I'm not trying to be like full of myself or anything, but sometimes like you can tell when it's like someone is doing it but not out of creativity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
then those are usually people who think too much. They cannot they can't break things down. They can't figure it out themselves. They want it spoon fed because that's the only way they know how to like function.
Yeah.
because I
We're
know a
just kind
couple
of raised
artists who are
to do
actually
that, right? We're just kind of raised to like learn
yeah,
things in repetition, or like you just gotta give us the information.
yeah, but that's the thing where it's like if you can't figure it out yourself or even try to or figure out your own way,
Yeah.
then that's literally uses creative thinking.
Yep.
And like some people just don't have it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really strange sometimes. So it's like
Yeah.
that's like the challenge for them is to like make it up yourself. Like no one's gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell you, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend who every time we try to tell him that or get him to go in that direction, he just refuses. Like he
Yeah.
just cannot do it. And
Yeah.
Well,
he
the
is a little
second
bit
part
on
to
the
that is
spectrum
like
though.
you have to want it bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No,
Like
he
you
wants
have
it
to,
bad. No, he wants it. Like he really, really wants it
yeah.
bad. It's just
So
he
this
just
is
isn't
this is
able to
something that
think
I
in that
learned
direction.
like I've learned through the process, and I'm still trying to figure out how to word it right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna sound like really like aggressive, right? But
No, it,
saying you
no,
want
it all
something,
is.
yeah, saying you want something isn't the same as wanting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because or like needing it, right? And this probably doesn't make sense, but basically what I'm getting at is like you can say that you want it as much as you like as long as your throat is able to scream it at the top of your lungs, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between nagging and doing, right?
Yeah.
And the
yeah,
difference is results, right? And so if you can't get some results, then you don't actually want it, right?
Yeah.
So like and this is probably like there's probably an educational barrier too that maybe this person is like struggling to actually hit across like nail, but
no,
like
like they're on the spectrum. Like they just think differently. And there's people that naturally like making things up. Like you know how I like what was it like? There's like a huge chunk of the population that cannot visualize. Like
Yeah.
if I tell you to picture a blue apple, there's like a lot of people who just cannot do it. They
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but
have to
that's like
see it in
learn
front of
you
them.
you can learn to do that. You can learn to build stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that it comes naturally to some people like you and me, but other
Mm-hmm.
people have to learn that aspect, and that's the most important aspect to do everything the way you want. You're saying that they should do it. You see what I'm saying? I said like that's one of those barriers that get in people's ways.
Yeah.
Like you see how like that kind of thinking and those kind of skills apply to everything you were saying and how people should go about learning it. And that's why I'm agreeing with you because it's like that's what should be taught. Like you need to think creatively. You need to understand that artwork
I
isn't
see what
just
you're saying.
creating something, it's a problem solving
Yeah.
skill.
Yep.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? There's a
Mm.
lot of critical thinking involved.
Yeah, it's a lot of just sitting down and looking at stuff. That's why like a lot of the times like studying for me is like finding other artists and like seeing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's also like I said, that's the purpose of All Art No Breaks, is to do that. And you explore and you see other artists and you see how they do it, and you can take notes and stuff on things that you like, or just like you witness it and then you can like you think back to it like, oh, I remember this artist did this to solve this problem, right? Maybe I can do something similar. It's like, oh, this is how they laid the piece, and this is what they did, or these are the color palettes they used, or something similar to this,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can like fudge around with it until it feels right.
Oh yeah.
Um, but
Exactly. So
that's
it feels
yeah,
right. People don't have that extra sense to feel it though. That's what needs to be taught.
yeah.
That's what people
Yeah.
need to figure out a way to
But
like
that
help
I
others
feel like
do it.
that goes into like why you enjoy artwork, right? And the reason being is because like this is like my imagination, right? So like how I picture people getting into artwork is they see a really pretty thing online and they're like, oh, I want to make something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So out of wanting to make something like that, you start to develop your taste, right? And things that you like, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's anime,
Yeah.
realistic, semi-real, whatever, right? So you develop your taste, and then when you're making a piece, you inject some of that influence into your piece because you're like, oh, this reminds me of this reminds me of this, I can do this and this color palette works, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how that's kind of developed. And if you go into it with like the idea of like, oh, I'm going to make artwork, not I'm going to make something that like looks cool, but I want to make artwork, right? It's a lot more vague and difficult to make because you're not focusing on a specific thing. Earlier, how I was talking about like the whole Breaking Bad thing with like
Yeah.
um Jesse and the gun thing, like how, right? You don't
Mhm.
have a goal, so you don't really like you don't have like even the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna shoot this guy twice and I'm gonna shoot this guy 3 times, right?
Mhm.
It's literally just like I'm gonna shoot them both, and then like you don't think of anybody else showing up, you don't think of anybody witnessing it. There's nothing out like you're not taking into consideration any factors. You're just kind of just willy-nilly, I'm gonna grab a piece of paper and I'm just going to throw paint on it, right? And that's like that in itself is literally an art form in itself, and that's difficult to do as well, right? I'm not part of that field, so I'm not going to talk about it, but like it could be done, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like that
Yeah,
sense that's literally instincts. Where it's like
yeah.
you're not thinking ahead, you're in the now. I'm just putting lines on the paper and I see what comes out. Could be Superman, could be Batman, could be Wolverine, could be a box, could be a dude with a box for a head. I don't fucking know what I'm drawing until it's done. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
True, true.
So it's like that's what I'm saying is it's like it's it's either impossible to teach or very hard to teach instincts when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yeah,
Because
I know a
Yeah,
lot
whoever
of people
kind of
get like
drawing,
really like lost because that whole
they get
term
way too
"feel the
technical.
form." Like, what the hell you mean by feel the form? Like, you want me to touch my
Um,
paper, touch the canvas? Like, what?
no, it's
Feel?
like yo, like you. That's why like whenever I would try to when like in high school or something, when I would try to teach someone. I'm like, all right, you look at it. Does something look off? You're like, yeah. Do you know what it is? Like, nah. All right, figure out what looks off.
so
You know what I mean?
something
Yeah.
somebody told me one time, and I remember it because I think it's very like it's the closest explanation that I have that's logical, right? So you have to think of that as opening your third eye. And I know it
Hmm.
sounds super weird, but like it's actually that, right? Like the idea of it, and I've kind of concepted it out in my brain, is like you have a third eye like in your head, right? And you have to like learn to open it, right? So opening it is like getting in the zone, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so like you have to do things like ritualistically in order to open your eye, right? Whether it's like like magic or whatever, doesn't
Hmm.
matter, but in this case it's drawing, right? You have to draw, you have to paint, you have to look at other things, right? So that's the ritual for it. And then when you open your third eye and you can actually do things without really thinking about it, and it's very effortless, right? So
Yeah.
that's just the way I've kind of pieced it together, but
See, I've
I don't
been
know.
literally just being around my friends who just cannot like do the autopilot stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like I've been sometimes they do it and they don't know they did, and I kind of started to figure out how to get them to,
Hmm.
because like I'm telling them that like all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? I just try to get them to like because they know all this information, right? They know what they're drawing, they know how to draw it. So I told them like just draw it, but don't think words while you're doing it,
Hmm.
because like let your muscle memory like carry you through it and then like finish the picture before you start deciding what's wrong with it, because they'll spend forever on like this one part and then like they'll never finish images or never finish a project, or they just keep on saying, oh, I'm gonna practice before I do it. I'm like, no, the practice is doing it.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
that's what I tell people too.
Yeah.
Exactly, you
You
see what I mean? And
yeah,
it's kind of
you're
crazy.
gonna end up forever studying, and that's not gonna lead to anything.
Hmm.
Exactly. So I'm like you want to make this comic, make the comic and then look back at what you messed up on,
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah,
make better comic.
I have made tons of comics that are really trash, and I've learned a lot from them.
Yeah.
Yo, the first comic I ever made was like my webtoon, and you'll see it like get better like with
Oh.
each chapter. And it's like it
Yeah,
was ridiculous the mistakes I was making. And before then, I was literally doing the same things, and like, oh, I'm not ready. I need to practice for it. But I'm like, wait,
Hmm.
I never draw panels. I don't know how to draw panels. The only way to draw panels and practice that is to draw panels.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's really funny when you look back
Yeah.
and like
Right.
think
yeah.
about it.
It's always more simple than you actually think, and like
Hmm.
sometimes it's not even drawing panels. Just look how other people draw panels.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
Like
real
literally,
quick,
just open up another webtoons that's within the same genre and just be like, okay, scroll through, like read their story, and like see how they're placing everything, and that's
Yeah.
it.
yo,
That's literally it.
I'm glad you said that because that's literally what I used to keep telling them. I didn't even know what it was I was doing at the time,
Hmm.
but like you have to simplify things, because when
Yeah,
things are complicated, like it makes it difficult. It makes
Yeah.
shit too
yeah,
difficult. There's a saying that like if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it enough. Like
Yeah.
if you
hmm
can't simplify something, then you don't fully understand it. So I keep telling them to simplify it. Don't keep it complicated because
yeah,
you're holding yourself back.
Oh yeah.
yeah. That's also why I don't know if you were here when I was talking about the circle, but that's also why the circle exists, is because you have to be able to teach it at some point, in order for you to develop. And
Yeah.
I have like explanations for how I do things and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to like teach somebody unless like opportunity presents itself. And I have like friends that like I'm like pseudo mentoring,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's very few and far between, because the other part to that is like the need to actually want to learn.
Yeah.
Like I don't like giving advice or teaching people how to do things that are going to take my feedback and then throw it outside because they just effectively wasted my time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um, so that's another
Yeah.
thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But yeah, like the feeling it, like the autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
like the simplifying it is like those are the things a lot of people need to hear, or a lot like really need to have like ingrained in them to understand, because I think those things are like the most important, if not one of the most important things, if you really want to make artwork.
The thing, my thing
yeah,
Also,
is
definitely.
like just like go ahead, start making projects for yourself, complete something. The more you complete something, the more the easier it gets when it comes to actually like doing work or drawing or trying to like get a vision out of your head or something. The more you
yeah,
start like completing your work, that's when it'd be like, okay, the resistance is not really there anymore.
Yeah. So I was thinking,
learn the most
or
out of
not
it.
thinking, but I remember watching a one of the videos that Med had made, Ahmed Al Duri.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep talking about him because he's one of the guys that I literally started doing artwork and like learning from.
Mm-hmm.
But
Are you in his
I
course?
think he said, huh?
Are you in his new course that he has?
No, I'm not. I haven't joined it,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because I've been too busy working on other stuff. So
Yeah.
I just wouldn't have the time to do it, even if I did purchase it.
Yeah.
But I do recommend it. It's a very good
Yeah.
course. A friend told me a little bit about like what they do,
Mm-hmm.
and then I read through the this the walkthrough of like what he talks about on the in like the video, and it's very accurate to like what he told us in the class. Um, but like it basically it was like uh, the reason that you aren't very good at drawing at the beginning is because A, you don't have the knowledge, but B, because you don't have the muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
And like you don't actually know how to move your hands, and you have to
Yeah.
coordinate that and like match your brain to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's so difficult for you to draw things even when you're looking at them, because you don't understand how to control your hand. Because you can look at something but you don't know how to like move your hand in the way to make it replicate that.
Yeah.
And there's an artistic connection to that, where it's like you do things in a weird way because it like that's what your brain registers is there, like in your emotion, right? But like there's like the other part to it where it's like your brain is making neurological connections. Like it's not just like instantaneous, like, oh, I know how to paint this thing, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like you have to sit there and struggle because your brain is trying to decipher this puzzle, right? And then
Right.
once you decipher that puzzle, your brain has slightly stronger connection. And the more you make these puzzles, right, the more your brain, like the neurological connection that's making the things, connects, and it just makes sense. And slowly and slowly and slowly, and then you become really good at artwork, right? And
Yeah.
when you're really good at artwork, it's harder for people that aren't you to see mistakes in your work, because you have such a strong connection to your hands and to like the way you think about the artwork, that you can pinpoint like, oh, this is how I make this, right? And other people are just like looking at it like, oh my god, this guy's amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just in as a general sense, right? And that's why like a lot of the times when like friends or like just people online ask me like, oh, why do I need to make 50 sketches, or why do you recommend to fill up a sketchbook before I even start my journey? And it's because you don't know how to draw,
Yeah.
right? Like most people that come to me are like, oh yeah, like I'm good at drawing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like probably the top phrase that I hear when people want to have me show them how to do something or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Is like, oh, like I know how to draw. It's like, okay. And then they show me a couple drawings, and obviously, there's a couple mistakes here or there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, yeah, I would fill up a sketchbook, right? And the reason I do that isn't just because like oh I'm trying to insult them or whatever, because like
Yep.
I honestly don't care for it. Like my world is like a little bit different in terms of like the way I think of like actually making artwork. Like I don't really care too much for like flexing, but like it's like why do you come to me, ask me what you should do, and then I tell you what you should do, and you tell me, oh, why are you recommending me what you recommend everybody else?
Yeah.
It's like there's a reason why I'm recommending that, and if you're gonna ignore it, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Like it's you. The answer is usually easier than you think, like almost 9 times out of 10, and people just sometimes it just goes over the head, and I don't blame them, right? Because they haven't experienced it the way I've experienced, and they need to go through the steps, which is I've slowly lost a lot of patience for that kind of thing, and
No,
like
that's
I don't feel that same like drive of like I want to nail this into people's heads and have them really understand, and like this is how you do it and this is how the world is, and it's like I'm just not that type of dude anymore. Like I
Hmm.
just can't do that, and so that's why I'm a lot more chill about it, where it's like if someone were to ask me today, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I would fill up a sketchbook, and then they're like, oh man, yeah, but like I don't like drawing traditionally. It's like, all right, cool, don't do it then. Whereas before I'd be like, I'd explain the fundamentals of it and like how your brain. I just don't want to do it anymore. Um,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's necessary. I don't think I should have to force somebody to do artwork. Yeah, like like that's
no.
counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it was always a thing I like kind of like had to do. Like yeah, like the first thing that gets me to pick up the pencil the first time was like I see something I like and I try to draw it, but then I quickly turned into me just drawing my own things. I always just
Hmm.
like, all right, let me draw something cool. I don't even know. I don't have a plan. You know, like
Yeah.
the majority of my time drawing, especially back in high school before I decided to take it seriously as like a career, was I draw what I want and I just make shit look cool.
Yeah.
Because to me, all forms of art are just stimulating a sense.
Yep.
You're drawing pictures, you're stimulating the eyes. You're making food, you're stimulating the tongue. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's usually what it is. Like if it like and when people that's why I don't really like contemporary art because it's more so about the meaning than it is like the product. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Hmm.
so now you're discrediting all these other artists who work so hard to make these things look the way they want it to look and make it look appealing, and then you just cut out the appealing part and just say it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I
that's my
think that
personal problem with that.
yeah, I think those types of artworks have a niche, and I think that those people do the thing that they do with that intention. Like they're trying
Oh,
to have people like communicate that idea, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's
oh
just a
no,
different type of artwork.
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
But
It's just understand that that's a separate thing. Like they keep on trying to put that in the place of like paintings, in the place of like sculptures. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's where I dislike it.
mm, yeah, I don't. Like I said, I'm not. I can't really speak too much of it. I'm not really into that scene. But yeah, it
No,
seems plausible.
yeah, and man, there's a lot that goes into this stuff. It's just oh yeah, huh. I was gonna say something about what you said earlier. With people like come to you for advice and they don't listen to it.
Yeah.
That's that's usually the person who hasn't been challenged before. You know what I'm saying? To where like they're just so used to everyone saying, "Oh, your stuff looks great," because they can't see those mistakes, and then like it starts to make it so that they
Yeah.
can't see them either.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I think
Yeah.
also sometimes people don't have like a clear view of like what they're looking for. They just want validation. And so
Hmm.
they'll
Yeah,
go up to you thinking like, "Oh, he's gonna tell me I'm good," and then I'm gonna tell him, "Oh yeah, I think it could be better," and then I'm gonna go about my day and I'm gonna get my
yeah.
satisfaction, right?
Like
And I
they
Yeah.
just
have that
don't give that to
script in their
people.
head.
So, like, I'll tell people like now, like if I know, so like there's certain things that people do and say now that like it tips me off, and I'm just like, okay, they just want validation, right?
Hmm.
And so I give them their validation because I think everybody should be validated at some point in time. So, and I don't think that there's something wrong with feeling good about yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give that to them and I'll be like, yeah, you're pretty good, man. Keep it up. Whatever, right? And that's about it. That's all those people need to hear at that point in time because
Yeah.
that's where they're at in their art journey, right? They need to hear that.
Hmm.
Because I also think like I picture the opposite too. It's like, what if I told them they were horrible? What path is that going to put them on? probably going to put them on a shitty path, right? It's probably
Yeah.
going to be part of that
It
grind culture,
depends on the
and they're
person.
yeah. But I mean, more often than not, right? They're younger. They're influenced easier by people who are older than them, and you have to keep that in mind always, right?
Mhm.
And it's not so much that it's your responsibility as an artist, but as a person, right? You wouldn't want somebody coming up to your child and telling them, oh, you should go, run in front of cars, right? So
Oh yeah, of
like
course.
you don't want somebody to come up to your kid and be like, you're invincible, you should run in front of cars.
Yeah.
Like, you want to guide them the right way and be like, yeah, don't run in front of cars, never do that, you're not
Yeah.
made of steel, right? You're not Superman.
Yeah.
So with that same statement, it's like you're basically would do the same, right? You would lead them down a darker path, and I don't want to do that to somebody. So that's why I just give them that validation. But I think sometimes, like I said, the younger people, they really want that validation, and they
Mhm.
they don't get it anywhere else. So I feel like that's why they come up to you and they ask you those kinds of things. I do think that there's a time and place to be like, okay, like, you know, your work is good, but there's stuff that you can work on, right? But they have to ask you that, or like want that. You don't really. It's not advised, or I don't advise like telling people like straight off the bat, like, oh, you're really bad, this looks bad, this is wonky, like, you got to fix this, the color palette. Like, yeah, you can tell them, right? But maybe do that in private, where they're not in public, and it doesn't, make them feel bad. Or maybe if they come to you in private, they're just like, hey, I know you said it looks good, but I'm trying to develop. And I feel like the what you said before was just kind of like, maybe appeasing me a little bit. And
Mhm.
I wanted to hear, like, maybe like, what would you change in the piece in order to like fit this, and then I can help those people a little bit more. But I feel like a lot of the stuff that has to do with like being an artist is like, you're also like an influencer, right? Like, if
Mhm.
you're good at doing something, people that aren't like great at doing it are going to come to you and ask you for advice, or like, what should I do, or this or that. And you have to know how to kind of navigate them and see where they're at in their art journey. So like, you have to basically read them like from the initial, and it's kind of hard to do that sometimes. And sometimes, I'm not going to sit here and be act like I'm a saint, right? I've made mistakes, and I've
Mhm.
told people the wrong thing at the wrong time, and then they just don't like artwork as much, and it's made me feel really bad. And
Yeah.
then I go back, and then I'm like, what I said wasn't right. Like, you know you can do this to make it better, and you can develop your skills, and I've helped them out of that rut. But like, it's just something that's kind of harder to identify and
I see
harder
what
to
you
help.
mean, man.
Yeah.
I
um
understand because it is
mhm.
there's a lot of sides to those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like especially with teaching people how to be able to take constructive criticism,
Yeah.
And the only way that I deliver it nowadays is that I tell you what's good with the piece first so that they don't trip out because there's always the good parts of it, you know what I'm saying? And then I tell
Mm.
them what's wrong with it so that they know that whatever I'm pointing at is wrong is is the only part that I think needs to work and that everything else is fine. Because a lot of people like they
I like
trip. Like it's
yeah
like
I
yeah,
think it depends on like the situation, right? Like, how they came up to you and
Mhm.
asked you,
yeah.
rather
That's
than like what the
that is
piece
true too.
needs. Because
That's more
like,
like people skills though, rather than like directly related to the art.
yeah, well, if we're speaking directly on art, right? um a lot of younger artists, right, that are still like trying to figure out what they want to do and like how to do stuff, they have like an ego, right? And like, not even an ego per se of like, oh, I'm good, right? But more
Mhm.
of like, I want to be good, and if I do something wrong here, I have to justify it. Or if I do
Yeah.
something that's like not like, yeah, maybe not even wrong, but like,
That's
it's not
more
to
of
the
like
standard, right? It's not to the
more of
standard of like
a
quality,
person.
right? And it's
That's
like,
more of a person to person thing rather than like an artist thing in
yeah.
particular.
But what I'm saying is like, there's one thing to like tell them like, oh yeah, the whole piece is wrong, right? Because I could easily, like, somebody comes up to me that tells me that, it's like, that tells me, oh, how can I prove? It's like, oh, just do it over, it's all not very good, right? But it's like giving them one thing to focus on, I think, is a little bit easier, even if it's like something they don't see, because they're coming to you because they don't see it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
and one of the things I tell people, right, and this is usually when they start getting defensive about their piece, is like, like let's say like they'll be like, oh, what can I fix on it? And I'll be like, oh, this leg seems a little bit off, you can adjust this, and I think that would help out the piece a little bit more. And then they usually say, oh, well the pose in this angle is like doing this and this or that, and like I think this is correct for this angle. So and my response is always like, okay, if you think this is correct, right, then figure out what it needs on your end, right? And then fix that, and then you can bring it back to me and I can give you feedback. Because obviously you have a response to what I'm pointing out. So you can adjust the piece to what you want it to look like, right? That's valid.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do that, and then you can bring it back, and then I can give you accurate feedback. Because what it sounds like is that this piece isn't complete yet. Like you haven't finished touching up whatever you're going to touch up. Because if you say this is correct, then why is this incorrect, right? If you feel that something is off, it's usually because it's a trickling effect of one thing, right? So like going back to like the taking apart things, like the foundation, the house isn't lopsided because it's painted wrong. It's lopsided because the foundation is wrong. So
Oh, bars.
figure that piece out and then come back.
Hey,
And usually
yo,
that helps out. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of things like with like just the truth, and if sometimes with those people, right, like I'd make it a conversation. I'm like, okay, well then if you made that choice, then why does it like look this way? Like I make it a conversation, so like because some people like to converse things out rather than just you say something and then that's the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's
so
not so
I
much.
I
It's
check if that's the
yeah.
case first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But like I said, it depends from case to case. Depends how they say it and the tone and
Yeah.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's
here's another topic, like in terms of practicing, right? And this is something I hear a lot because I tell people like, "Yo, you want to get better? Like, just practice." And then one of my friends in particular would be like, "That doesn't help me because you're not telling me what to practice." And I'm like, "Dude, no one's gonna hold your hand. It's pretty like common sense. Like, whatever you think you're not good at is what you practice.
Yeah,
And
but a lot of that is like
if you
foreign to
keep doing
people
that,
though.
yeah, that's why it's
Yeah.
strange. But like, I'm putting it in a nutshell, the simplest terms. Whatever you're not good at is what you practice. And then he starts trying to get in more detail. Well, how should I practice that? I'm like, the same way you practice anything. You do it over and over and over until you get better. And if there's something wrong, you have to figure it out and then adjust it until it seems right. You know what I'm saying? Like I was trying my best to not hold his hand whatsoever. He had to do it on his own. You know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
do think that like whenever people ask me that, like oh, what do I do to get better, and I tell them to draw, right? um the follow-up to that, when people ask like, oh, but like what do I draw, is draw things that you enjoy, right, or that you like, because then it gives them like an idea of like where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And they
like when they
figure
don't,
out
when you
and they
I know,
figure
but
out what they specialize at.
well, not even what they specialize in, it's just what they enjoy to draw.
Yeah, that's
Because when you're
usually what
starting
people
off,
specialize in. Whatever you like to draw is what you draw the most becomes what you're best at.
sometimes it's just like whatever you're good at, right? Like I know
Yeah.
people that are good at prop design, but they hate prop design, and they like characters, but they're not very good at characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what
They
you
probably
work in
do more
isn't
props than
necessarily,
characters.
yeah. Well, like I said, sometimes what you work in isn't necessarily what you like to do, but then you can transition into what you like to do because you're good at what you don't like to do. So like let's say prop design, right? You're not really good, or you're good at prop design, but you're not good at character design. But your weapons on your characters look sick, so you make that the focus of your characters, right? So you make it more stylized, so like it's a little bit right? So
Yeah.
it's like you can gradually work your way there. It's not to say like you can't do it. But I also think that like when you're starting off, like you don't have to have that like deep, like, okay, this is what I'm good at, or like this is what I like to do, and I'm gonna like become a professional at it, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily healthy for development. Not
Oh yeah.
because like, oh, like you're doing something because you like, right? I think
I thought that was
it's better.
kind of
Yeah.
I thought that was like kind of implied because like just the act of drawing what you like will lead to you making all of those
I
realizations.
also feel like a
Because
lot of people like
I
require some type of structure though. Like,
Yeah,
like
right.
I
See,
think
but that's the thing where I'm like, that's kind of hand holding because
yeah.
I'm setting them in one direction, and whatever they find, whatever obstacles is what they're learning. Like
Hmm.
a lot of this stuff, like they can still come to these conclusions on their own, and it's better if they do because it's more natural
Yeah.
rather than me
yeah.
just telling you the structure of how to do this and why, and then you do this and you do this.
Oh
It's
no,
like you're
I'm not. I'm
it's
not
like you're
talking about
laying out a
like.
blueprint,
Yeah, it's not
you
like
know?
it's like yeah. Just tell me like, and how do I approach my studies? Like, do I practice this every single waking minute of every single day,
That's
or
what I'm
do
saying.
I
No
break it up in like
instruction.
chunks, or like, how would you say I should approach this? And I think a lot of people just don't know how to come up with a kind of like a
They
school
want a
like
structure.
academia
Yeah.
like thing because I want a syllabus. I wanna
Yeah.
have my own do it yourself syllabus.
You
Yeah.
don't
I
want
think that's
a
that's you hit the nail on the head. That this friend of yours isn't asking you like the general idea of how to do it. They're asking you like what specifically to do.
Hmm.
yeah,
I'm not
and
saying,
it's like
you're wrong in like how you're recommending it,
Yeah.
because I think you have a point.
Hmm.
Because that's something I used to say as well. But they're looking for something specific so they can focus on that.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
but it is what it is.
But
Hmm.
I'm saying that like the specific thing, they need to find that because this is self-expression. This is like us doing our own thing. Like we all do characters, but all of our characters are different. We are all our own people. Like I can't
Yeah.
send you in the direction I went because you are not me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's why like I'll
That's
be
something that I
very
would
lucid
I
with
would
instructions.
yeah, that's something that I would tell to somebody who's a little bit more developed in doing the artwork. I
Hmm.
wouldn't necessarily tell it to a new person,
Yeah.
because a new
Oh,
person they're just casual, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but you have
hey,
your methods of it. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
we were all casual too, and then it led to us being like getting here. And we got
Yeah.
advice from people who are where we are at now, who gave us similar instructions. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Like the stuff you
I didn't
find
receive
along the
those
way.
instructions though.
You
I got
didn't?
I got I got no, I did not.
Oh
I just
yeah.
got like
I
you. I got the vague instructions like you work hard out what you want, and then you get there. So I'm like, all right, let me draw a lot. I'm gonna draw this and draw that. Okay, I'm not good at this, and I started like just going and practicing,
Making
like
notes
yeah,
and
like
stuff
solving
on your
problems as
weaknesses.
they come, and then it just grew into this
yeah,
wealth of art
yeah.
knowledge
It
that I
grew.
have now.
That's the
You see what
key.
I'm
That's
saying?
the key.
I set
That's the
them
key
up
right
to
there.
grow.
Is that
I set the
it
snowball.
grew into that. That's
Yeah.
what I'm getting at. Is it grew into that, right? So when you started, right, like they told you, oh, draw, right? In your brain, you figured draw things I like, right? So these people don't understand that part because they don't see it. So you
Hmm.
have to spoon feed that part to them and be like, draw things you like. And then they're
You
like,
see,
what are things I like? And you're just like, that's for you to find out, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Not
what they
me.
have to
that's
that's what
just
you
a
have to
weird
tell them.
thing.
Yeah,
Like,
to you it's weird. To you it's
yeah,
weird,
that's what
right?
I'm.
These
That's what
people
I'm
don't
saying.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My first instinct for stuff is like it's weird. It's weird because it always feels like it's to me it's common sense.
That
You know
I
what I
think
mean?
that's
Like
personally your own art click.
Yeah, that's
like,
that's a you thing.
but that's like it's always been that way for me. With that's just how I learn
Exactly.
things.
That's
Yeah.
a you thing.
Yeah.
You know what
That
I'm
that
saying?
that that is your click.
Yeah.
That was your click.
So for like I never asked for any specific instructions.
Hmm.
I never looked for that.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's and I think that I think it's important because it keeps you being yourself, and that's what artists need to be. Because when you give them too many instructions, you get a lot of cookie cutter artists.
Oh
You know,
man.
like I mean, come on, like, and I'm not being. Forgive me if it sounds harsh, but anime is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Just the existence of it and how you have a lot of artists who work so hard and follow these instructions to the T, and they
Hmm.
start becoming all cookie cutter, nothing to differentiate themselves. Like they aren't themselves.
Hmm.
They're a mirror of something that they like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Like
see
the
what
things
these
we like
artists
should it's
what
the
what
things we like
artists
should
you're
be
talking
like
about.
no, just anime artists like everywhere.
That's
A
very
lot of
vague,
these
man.
styles. No, like you know what I'm talking about. How there's a lot of
Nah.
like when you see anime in general, a lot of it looks the same, like very similar, barely any deviations. You know what I'm saying?
Is
Mm.
it is
I
it
think we
more
can
like
agree to
you see
disagree.
this
I
you
don't
see
see
the
anime
same
in the same
style
way.
everywhere, like the same
You can't
line
tell me
weight,
that you don't
the
see
same
that.
cell shading color, the same
The
I
same
look at different
arcly
things,
blue
man.
eyed
So
characters. Just
I wouldn't say that one character looks like another character just because
uh
like I said, I look at different genres
no, of
of
course I can see a
mangas and
difference.
comics and stuff like that, and I don't see so much the similarities of it. But if you're talking about like the general public doesn't necessarily make high quality, anime type stuff.
mhm.
So I don't
So
know which one you're trying to address.
no, of course there's differences between their characters. I can see that, but like you know how like there's like these set styles of anime, like the tall characters, like the romances are usually drawn in this certain way where you know what I'm saying? Like
Okay, and what's
the
wrong
when
with
you
that?
look at everybody starts looking the same and no one's looking like themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because when you have these set instructions and everybody follows them, everybody starts drawing the same way.
Is it like
And they don't have that
Right,
set
what you're
expression.
talking about is like the
but if
clones, like let's say when Sakimi-chan was
Yeah,
popping out, right? And then like out of
yeah.
nowhere there's like Sakimi-chan clone styles everywhere else. They're like, I do not safe for work art too, and it looks just like Sakimi-chan, but like not as like high quality, like a tier below high quality compared to her.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
if you just look like when you go to Google Images and you just type like anime fan art or something, you see a lot of this really crazy high quality stuff, and a lot of them you can't tell like who's who. Like they don't have that personal identity just by looking at their styles. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
They're not recognizable. You just see it and you're like, well, that's anime. You don't see
yeah.
it and be like, oh, well, that's so and so. That's the shit I'm talking about.
Okay, so like the people who are like just known, like if you look at Ilya Kushnaval's artwork, and you be like, oh, that's Ilya right there.
Exactly. Like and at least they like because they're putting their own spin to it. But when you
Mm-hmm.
give too many instructions, not people forget that they're supposed to put their own spin to it because they're
Mm-hmm.
just following instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And by not giving them the instructions, the only choice is their own spin. So you create a lot more self-expression in the artwork because because there's nowhere else to go. You know what I'm saying?
hmm, okay, that's reasonable.
Like the individuality is what's get lost when there's too
Yeah.
many like set instructions for how to and how to learn and how to you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That because then now you're losing the problem solving. The how to is the problem to solve.
Hmm.
Man, thanks for the tier one sub, uh, Dead King. I lost all my alerts and like I'm using some bare bones like streaming scenes and setups right now, so I have to re-input all these scenes and stuff again and get my alerts back working. But thank you so
Oh
much.
man. But yeah, like you disagree. So it's like that means that there's positives and negatives to it all. Because people get to these points where like they're really
Mhm.
good, but then now they're gonna have to do the problem solving with throwing their own spin in the shit. Because I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of artists like get to that point where they can do the cookie cutter anime and then they start mixing it up from there.
But I
And
also
it
think
still works
it's
out.
based on their goal. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like if they want to do cookie cutter stuff to like to work specifically somewhere or to get work
Yeah,
specifically in like a thing or
exactly.
just to be like
And that's
another
what you gotta
number,
do.
and like okay, then that's what it is. If they're not trying to like branch out and like I am my own person, the reason why I color like this is because I'm always sad or whatever, I have like some type of emotion or style to it that's gonna be known. If they're not aiming for that, and like I think that's totally fine.
It is, it is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, we gotta be aware of it all,
Yeah.
It's just like I guess it is more of a personal thing for me because I would
Hmm.
prefer everybody is their own individual and have
Yeah.
their own styles.
Yeah,
It's,
I definitely do
you
think it's a
know,
more personal thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Art,
And
art,
I
art
think
and
one of my
everything is like
friends
very
told me,
subjective, you know.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And one of my friends told me that like all of our styles, in a
Hmm.
way, is just the mistakes we make.
Oh yeah.
A lot of art style is based on like your how you do it.
Yeah.
Like
Like
your
Exactly.
technical skill.
jacked up eyes and like, yep, that's it.
No. Jacked up eyes is not it's not a style.
Yeah, but you know you
Those,
met those people that be like, no, that's my art style, broken arms.
no, no, no.
Excuse
Those are not art styles.
Like the dude who made Attack on Titan, man. Like
Oh yeah,
oh man, like yeah, broken
squiggly
limbs,
line.
baby
And
arms, baby hands. That's the style. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
oh, but you
Yeah.
see how if everyone's following the same rules, a lot of people can start making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
See, like the logic, I think the logic, the reasoning checks out, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's fun to think about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What would you guys say
All
would
right,
be
man.
like the biggest art traps? Oh, like yeah, dude, we've been going on for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh
I was
man.
gonna say if there's any closing stuff for the interview, and then that way I can
Oh, if you
head out.
have any questions for us, or if even the chat themselves, if they have like a few questions, we'll take a few questions.
Yeah.
That's
If
if you have
anybody
the
has any
time.
questions, and then we'll.
But you know, we've been throwing questions at you and ideas and thoughts. You have any
Yeah. Yeah.
questions
No,
for
it's
us?
cool.
Yeah, you've been dropping a lot of knowledge, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No worries. I'm just here because just want to share. I guess art. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
like I like the conversion. I like
Yeah.
I like the back and forth because then we both looking at different sides of it and we can
Yeah.
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
both sides more
My
now.
house just wanted to have me on, and I was like, all right, sure.
Yeah. But if you
Yeah,
have any questions for any of us, like feel free to ask us.
yeah, man.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, man. Do you have anything you want to
All right.
like shout out and promote?
Definitely, if any of you guys watching are interested, you can definitely check out my work on Instagram at Mysticfox4. I do have a YouTube channel. If you look up Mysticfox4, it's probably within the category, the top category. I know the first thing that pops up is a video that somebody made on one of my old art pieces way
Oh,
back in the
nice.
day, called by Jetty Jet.
Oh,
But you can
whoa.
definitely find me there. You can also find me on ArtStation under Emmanuel Aguilar. And then, yeah, definitely keep an eye out. I've been working on a comic called Scum for quite a while. I'm making it. You can watch the first version of it on Webtoons.
Mhm.
And yeah, see how it pans out. I do character design and illustration, so I do have some illustration stuff on my YouTube channel that you guys can check out. And I have a new YouTube series that I've started called All Art No Breaks. Like I said throughout this whole thing, you guys can definitely check that out if anyone is interested. And that's about it.
Oh man, awesome.
All right, guys.
That's what's
Well,
up.
You
thanks
have a
for
good
having
one.
me on, man.
Mhm.
I had a good time. It was a nice chat,
Yes, it
but
was.
Nice meeting you, man.
yeah,
We
nice meeting
gotta
you
do
too,
this
man.
again another time.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you're
Just let
down.
me know whenever you want to do it, and then we can hop on.
Dope. All right, man. That'll be it for the stream,
All right, man.
guys. Thank you guys for joining. Be here streaming on Wednesday, open mic. So I think a community Discord stream. So see you guys later. And if you guys want to watch this video, like the VOD will still be up for like about I don't know, like 14 days. But I will be taking down the VOD and uploading it to YouTube as well as Patreon. So yeah, you guys have a good one.